27th regular meeting, July 19, 2022 of the Medford City Council is called to order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Bears.
Present.
Council Carviallo.
Yes.
Council Collins.
Yes.
Council Knight. Council Scarpelli. I see Council Sang online. President Morrell.
Present, 7 present, 0 absent. The meeting is called to order. Please rise to salute the flag. The United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam President,
Vice President Bears.
motion to suspend the rules to take papers 22-411, 22-431, 22-436, 22-437, 22-441, 22-442, 22-443, and 22-439.
That's all.
That's all.
On the motion of Vice President Bears to take those papers out of order, seconded by Councilor Scarpelli. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Council Carviallo.
Yes.
Council Collins.
Yes.
Council Knight.
Yes.
Council Scarpelli. Yes. Council Sang.
Yes.
Yes. President Morrell.
Yes, 7 affirmative, 0 negative. The rules are suspended. 22-411. Notice of a public hearing. The Medford City Council will hold a public hearing in the Howard F. Alden Chambers at Medford City Hall, 85 George P. Hassett Drive, Medford, and via Zoom on Tuesday, July 19th, 2022 at 7 p.m. A link to be posted no later than Friday, July 15th, 2022 on a petition from Cummings Properties LLC and John Walsh to amend zoning map, City of Medford, Massachusetts, dated April 13th, 1965, as referenced in Chapter 94 Medford Zoning Ordinance, Section 2.2. The petition proposes to change the zoning district designation of the area of land bounded by Boston Avenue to the southwest, North Street to the southeast, the MBTA railroad tracks to the northeast, and the Somerville border to the northeast from Industrial I to Office 202. All is depicted on the plan entitled Plan Showing Proposed Zoning Change in Medford, Mass, Middlesex County. June 22nd, 2022. The full materials for the petition can be viewed in the office of the city clerk, City Hall, room 103, on the city's website at medfordma.org/department/planning-development-sustainability by clicking on current CD board filings. Call 781-393-2425 for any accommodations or aids. TDD 781-393-2516. The City of Medford is an EEOAA 504 employer. By order of the City Council, signed Adam L. Hervey, City Clerk, advertised in the Medford Transcript and Somerville Journal, June 30th and July 7th. Do we have, before we open up the public hearing, do we have a brief presentation from the petitioner? I know we did have name and address for the record, please.
This evening, as you may recall, we were in front of this council last month regarding our petition to move the properties at 196 and 200 Boston Ave from the industrial zoning district to the newly created O2 zoning district. At that meeting, and I'll branch off a little bit, Councilor Knight asked me a question and I would like to clarify it. You had asked me about the project that we were preparing to consider at 200 Boston Ave, about some taxes and some permit fees. I think I went off the cuff a little bit, but I think I was pretty close. The additional property taxes would be nearly $100,000 annually on top of what is already there. And the permit fees and the linkage fees would be more than $200,000. I just wanted to kind of close the loop on that. Was I close? Great. So thank you. So when we were here last, the council voted to move our request to the Community Development Board for a recommendation. Subsequently, we went to the Community Development Board and they provided a recommendation to the City Council that this that they approved it, our request. So all that said, we're here to respectfully request that the council grant our request to move the properties at 196 and 200 Boston Ave and reclassify them as O2 in the O2 zoning district.
Thank you. Before we open the public hearing, is there any discussion from the city council? Councilor Knight.
Madam President, when we looked at the recodification of our zoning ordinances, this was the type of project that we were looking to bring in. Project like this is going to be something that's going to be able to create new growth in our community, rejuvenate and regenerate our tax base. And I think it's going to be something that's going to be good for Medford. I appreciate the gentleman for coming up there and doing his homework and answering the questions that we asked last time. But ultimately, by making the small changes, we're going to be able to create jobs in this community, generate more new growth, more tax base, more linkage fees. So I think it's going to be something that's going to be good for the community.
Thank you, Councilor Knight. Any further discussion from the council? You want to note that, as the gentleman said, we did receive communication from the CD board on July 14th recommending the proposed changes. So as this is a public hearing, we're going to open up for public comments. So is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the petition before us? Anyone on Zoom? We'll move over to Zoom as well. Please raise your hand on Zoom if you'd like to speak on the petition before us. Seeing none, this portion of the public hearing is closed. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition of the petition before us? Either in person or on Zoom? Does anyone else like to speak? Okay, seeing some folks filter into Zoom. Seeing none, this portion of the public hearing is closed. Any further discussion from the council, or do I have a motion?
Motion to waive the 6-day public comment period and approve.
On the motion of Vice President Bears to waive the 6-day public comment period and approve, seconded by Councilor Knight. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
Council Kerry.
Yes.
Council Collins.
Yes.
Council Knight.
Yes.
Council Scarpelli. Yes. Council Sam.
yes,
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. Thank you very much. You're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on to 22 I believe 431 is the next one we have. All right, 22-431. Notice of a public hearing. The Medford City Council will hold a public hearing in the Howard F. Alden Chambers at Medford City Hall, 85 George P. Hassett Drive, Medford, and via Zoom on Tuesday, July 19th, 2022 at 7 p.m. on a petition from Christian Garcia of Finest Auto Body, Inc. to operate an automotive repair and auto body shop, Class 4 repair license at 26R Mystic Avenue, Medford, Mass. 02155 in Commercial 2, C2 zoning district. A Zoom link for the meeting will be posted no later than July 15th, 2022. Petition and plan may be seen in the office of the city clerk, Medford City Hall, Medford, Massachusetts. Call 781-393-2425 for any accommodation/aids. TDD 781-393-2516. The city of Medford is an EEOAA 504 employer. By order of the Medford City Council, signed Adam L. Hurtubise, city clerk, advertised in the Medford Transcript on July 7th, 2022. If we could get a short, if we get a presentation from the petitioner, if they are here or on Zoom. If you're on Zoom, please come on up if you just want to tell us a little bit about what you're seeking here.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Yes, I was looking to get a license to work in Medford for the body shop.
Sure. And just your name and address for the record, please. Just your name and address for the record.
Christian Garcia.
Great, thank you. Before we open up the public hearing, are there any questions from the counselors? Could you just?
I'm sorry, where exactly is this parcel located? It appears to be Gropper on the map.
It's a side street. I believe it's behind Bolsa Council Night. It's a whole dirt street in the back. Very congested area.
Councilor Carviallo and then Councilor Collins.
Thank you, Madam President. I, I've received multiple complaints, not against your business, but against other businesses over there, in regards to parking, overnight, just leaving cars on the street all over the place there. Do you have parking in your facility for all off-street parking?
Yes, we have a lot of parking inside the building.
I'm sorry?
We have a lot of parking inside the building. We don't.
And what are you gonna do in the daytime when you're gonna pull the cars out onto the street?
We have a lot. to
Where
park.
is there a lot there?
It's the front of the building and 26. Mix it up.
Like I say, that's a very congested area. I've got, I'm hearing from all the other businesses in there, between, the people from Volkswagen parking their cars all over the street. The company next to, Grava, parking their cars all over the street. And then there's another yard on Swan Street. So many cars on the street there and no one, and nobody's putting their cars inside, during the day. And during the day, it's just, that's just too congested of an area. So, I can't support this at this time until I see some kind of plan where the cars are gonna be, because I have called the chief for a meeting, to discuss parking concerns in that area with the other businesses, not yours, that are causing problems there, too.
Thank you. Councilor Collins and Councilor Scarpelli.
Thank you, President Morrell. Thank you for being here today. Just could you clarify how long has your business been in business at this location? How many years have you been at this address, or is this the first time you're applying?
I have 8 months.
8 months you've been in business here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Scarpelli.
Company was open, is open for 3 years. I was another building before.
Okay, so this is your new location, correct?
Yes.
So what was there before that? Before,
Was it Grava building?
was it Grava?
It's a Grava building behind 26.
Okay, because is that what Grava used to do, their auto body, but they don't do it
Yes.
anymore, correct?
Yes, they don't do it.
All right, so that, you're just taking that location. Again, I understand Councilor Carviallo's concerns, but I'm not going to penalize a new business owner that wants to come into the city for the ills of other business owners in that area. I think that if you look at the permit and everything that's been requested of them, traffic issues and concerns, Chief Buckley signed off on that. I know in the past, I can ask my Councilor Genius, Councilor Knight, could we put a review on that, Councilor Knight? Just if we accept it.
What I was thinking, Councilor Scarpelli, was because we have the 6-day waiting period anyway after we close the public hearing, that we request from the code enforcement officer a list of suggestions as to what they would deem suitable for that area. And then we can put them on as restrictions to the special permit when it comes before us.
Okay,
What
so
about you, Councilor Knight?
I would,
I had spoken to the code enforcement officer, and he said that is an issue that Chief Buckley needs to deal with also. So I did talk with him, maybe in the last 10 days about the concerns that other neighbors have in that area.
I think if I could recommend that with Councilor Knight, if we could recommend that and just move forward with the 6-day review and ask for the code enforcement and Chief Buckley to visit that before we vote on any moving forward. I think I want to continue with the process, but again, I don't want to penalize a future business owner for something he hasn't done wrong yet or intends to. So right now, all the paperwork seems to be in order. I understand the frustration of the merchants in that area, but at the same time, I think that has something to do with oversight and not with the petitioner that's in front of us. So I would move approval and ask for some feedback from the code enforcement officer and the chief regarding our concerns.
Thank you, Councilor Scarpelli. Second. Any further discussion from the council before we open the public hearing? Are you all set, Councilor Knight?
I am. I mean, I just think that, ultimately, there's a situation that's going on down there. Councilor Scarpelli and Councilor Caviola are absolutely right. If you drive down in that area, it's the auto mile. We have a lot of car dealerships down there. We have a lot of car repair places down there. And what we're seeing is their vehicles getting parked on the public way, creating a lot of congestion. Just recently, I believe we passed a permit for Fresh Pond Automotive, I think it was. And although they have a lot of vehicles, a lot of parking for vehicles off street, if you drive past the location and take a look at it, I mean, you barely have an inch to get a car in or out of there. I knew our new zoning act also spoke a little bit to what types of the number of vehicles that you keep on a parcel and the like. So I think it's going to come down to a code enforcement issue as well. But right now there is a problem that's down there. The one thing I will say is that I don't think that it's not going to be any more detrimental of a use than what was there before, right? It's not like we're creating a situation and making it worse. We have an opportunity to remedy it and make it better. But like Councilor Scarpelli said, I'd like to see the guy be in business. I'd like to see him be able to operate. I think that the suggestion of asking the chief of police and the code enforcement officer to give us some suggestions as to what we can do to make it a little bit easier down there for their needs would make sense.
Thank you. As this is a public hearing, we'll open it up to public comment. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this petition? And you would be in favor of this petition? Great. Anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this petition? Seeing none, portion of the public hearing is closed. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition of this petition? Seeing none, this portion of the public hearing is closed. Mr. Clerk, could you please read back Councilor Scarpelli's motion?
Councilor Scarpelli move for approval pending the 6-day comment period and also to ask for feedback from Chief Buckley and the code enforcement officer through a site visit.
Thank you. And that is seconded by Councilor Collins. Any further discussion?
Councilor Scarpelli, if you can amend that to put a 30 and 60-day review on that.
I wouldn't mind because it gives us a little more time once it's in there. So I would support that as well.
With an amendment from Councilor Scarpelli for
Yes. So
30 and 60 days.
on the motion of Councilor Scarpelli, seconded by Councilor Collins, amended by Councilor Carviallo, Mr. Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
So I just want to clarify that the intention of the motion is to approve after the 6-day comment period, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Here comes the roll call. Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Councilor Carviallo. Councilor Collins.
Yes.
Councilor Knight. Councilor Scarpelli.
Yes.
Councilor Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. So there'll be a 6-day public comment period, and then assuming no issues, then it will be approved. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to 22-436. 22-436, offered by Councilor Scarpelli. Be it so resolved that the Medford City Council invite representatives from the Medford Police Department to discuss the National Night Out in Medford. Councilor Scarpelli.
Thank you, Madam President. If people aren't familiar with the National Night Out is, we have been a supporter in my capacity, my professional capacity in the city of Somerville, and it's a great opportunity to bring our neighbors together and as a unified front, and the best people, the best profession to lead that are our men and women in the police department. So if I know that we have Lieutenant Hartnett here, if he's just fill us in with all the particulars, and I think we should all spread the word and all be part of such a great event. So thank you.
Madam President, Charlie Hartnett, 100 Main Street, Medford Police Department. I'm here with Captain Clementi, Sergeant Rory Lockwitz, and Lieutenant Joseph Casey. So if you'll indulge me for a couple moments, I just want to explain a little bit why we're here tonight. And I apologize if I'm looking at my notes a lot. So I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to hear us tonight. I'm obviously a lieutenant with the Medford Police Department. Speaking here tonight on behalf of the department's community engagement unit. While I am here to talk about our upcoming event, I would like to take a moment to explain what the community engagement unit is, its mission, and why we stand as a unit. Like I said, behind me are members of our CEU, Captain Clementi is the Administrative Division Commander. Joseph Casey is here as part of the Professional Standards Division. And Sergeant Rory Lockwood is here as part of the Patrol Division. Although the leadership of this unit may be entitled, leadership may come in all ranks. No more important to this unit are the patrol officers who comprise us and have taken on important roles. They are the backbone of what makes it work. Our street level officers are the ones that you see on the street, working around the clock, responding to the needs of Medford citizens 24/7. They have a major role in the current and future role of the department. And I'd be remiss to, if you have seen our social media, Patrol Officer Jessica Walsh, who's assigned to our patrol division, in addition to her patrol duties, she's taken on a huge responsibility by reinventing our social media presence in the community. She's an invaluable member of our team. And if you've seen it in the past and what it looks like now, it's leaps and bounds to what it was. And so we have to thank Jess for that. And she's single-handedly transformed our outreach and social media presence to be in line with 21st century policing and with our community's wants and needs. So thank you, Jessica, for that. In addition, the CEU is represented by patrol officers. I wish they were here tonight. We had a lot of scheduling conflicts. Julia Parthia, Barbara DeCristofaro, Kyle Altieri, Kevin Braxton, and School Resource Officer Richard Ziobro. These officers bring a wealth of experience and passion to this unit. Combined, the core members have years of experience, knowledge, and passion they bring from both themselves and their respective work assignments. I am sure that I am missing many, many more. However, the community engagement unit doesn't stop at these members alone. We consider and believe that every member of the Medford Police Department is part of the CEU. When I say CEU, just in the acronym, sorry. And it's from the chief down to include our civilian and dispatch personnel. However, let me be very clear. The CEU is not a directive from Chief Buckley. This is not a program that is forced upon our officers. Everyone in this unit volunteers their time. This is a unit that is completely driven from within the rank and file. Our officers want to be involved in this unit because they want to better our department and want to encourage the positive partnerships with our community. So again, I've explained a little bit, but, and I apologize if I have a time limit. Okay, sorry.
You keep going.
So the mission of the Medford Police Department is to create a proactive partnership with the citizens of Medford by providing quality policing and partnerships within the community, thereby improving the quality of life. The CEU hopes that fostering relationships through transparency via our social media channels and engagement through community events creates a partnership between the citizens and the police department to create a safer, more welcoming community for all. Effective community policing has a positive impact on reducing crime and helping reduce fear of crime, thus enhancing the quality of life within the Medford community. We're an evolving department. We're a young department. It's a pivotal time in policing, and we believe that a department engaging with the public helps not just our community, but our officers as well. I've spoken to officers at roll call explaining the importance of community policing and engagement. However, these are not just words. We can say to them all day long, community policing, engagement, but they mean nothing if we don't live to their meaning. This is why we believe that the first interaction with a police officer should hopefully not be when we have to respond to someone's home for a 911 response. The first interaction should not hopefully be on a motor vehicle stop. Although the way police officers engage in these interactions can be positive and shape future interactions and views of our department, our hope is to reach out to our community through informal events so we can reach out to our community on a more personal level. We want our community to know their police officers and who they are as people. As Sir Robert Peel stated, the police are the public and the public are the police. We want to be seen as partners in the community, not just a uniform. Our department does not run efficiently without the cooperation of our community and without them trusting us as equal partners. That is why the department has invested time to reaching out to our community outside of the borders of law enforcement. We want to be advocates for programs, helping grow our community, as well as informing the public on the police role, what we do, why we do it, and how we can help. We want our community to know that we are here to help 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A quick history. CEU blossomed out of a nationwide program called Faith in Blue. The event is a part of a nationwide initiative that aims to facilitate safer, stronger, and more just and unified communities by directly enabling local partnerships among law enforcement professionals, residents, business, and community groups to the connections of local faith-based organizations. For our first event, we partnered with Pastor Bell and Shiloh Baptist Church of West Medford, which has a long history in Medford and strong ties to the community. The event included a bicycle rodeo, car seat installations, activities, food, and music. We had several local businesses sponsor the event, such as Wegmans, JRA Cycles, and Boston Cold Brew Company. And next event is going to be October 22. From this event, we sprouted the idea of the CEU. The unit hopes to encompass many of the programs which had already been conducted previous to Faith in Blue, such as donating to the No Shave November fundraiser for veterans, senior holiday lunch, Touch a Truck events, autism awareness patch program to support the Doug Flutie Foundation, Medford Family Network toy drive, and many more. In addition, we hope to be part of events such as Circle the Square or other Medford events. We want our community to see us so we can see them. Open dialogue and create partnerships within our community. We are hopeful that all of you here, as well as people watching in our community, want to be part of this new and exciting partnership as well. That all being said, and I promise I'm wrapping up, the department would like to extend an invitation to every citizen of Medford, young and old, to our National Night Out being held at Hormel Stadium on August 2nd from 5 to 8 p.m. National Night Out is an annual community building campaign that promotes police community partnerships and neighborhood camaraderie to make our neighborhood safer, more caring places to live. National Night Out enhances the relationship between neighbors and law enforcement while bringing back a true sense of community. Furthermore, it provides a great opportunity to bring police and neighbors together under positive circumstances. Millions of neighbors take part in National Night Out across the community, across the U.S. On the first Tuesday in August. They host block parties, festivals, parades, cookouts, and various other community events with safety demonstrations, seminars, youth events, visits from emergency personnel, exhibits, and much more. So, to let you know what we're going to have at National Night Out, which we're very proud of, we're going to have an obstacle course for the children. It's going to be run by Officer Greg Janino and Ricky Raymond. And Officer Janino made a really nice wall. Built it himself. So he's very proud of it. We're all proud of him. We're going to have possibly a dunk tank. We might have to dunk the chief, I think.
Just keep Maury Carroll out.
If any.
I already did it this past weekend.
We're going to have face painting from the Cosmopolitan Department. The Cosmopolitan Department at the Medford High School. Touch a Truck. Officer Kevin Braxton will be singing the national anthem. Medford Family Network will be having games. Medford Rec will be having games. Kiss 108 will be DJing with Mikey V. We'll be having canine demonstrations. And special surprise, we'll be having Boston Med Flight having a in-flight landing in the middle of Hormel Stadium doing a mock landing. In addition to these events, many vendors will be on hand. MHS football team, MHS cheerleaders, Porter to Hope, I believe Animal Control, Pat Hogan, tons of Medford police officers, Tufts University Police Department, Brotherhood for the Fallen, Richie Silvestro from Silvestro's Barber will be offering free haircuts. The Ronald Tarantino Jr. Fund, Moms Demand Action, and we'll also be having Dave McGilvery Sports Enterprises coming to promote their upcoming race in September. In addition, the Board of Health, late edition with the Doug Flutie Jr. Foundation for Autism. The Chamber of Commerce will be there, and I just found out from Sandy, we'll be having a voter registration table there as well. So we hope that this event will foster a great relationship with the community and show what we can do for the citizens of Medford. We extend this invite to all of you counselors and all of you all the residents here in Medford. We hope you can make it. And thank you for your time. Just want to. Oh yeah, we're gonna have a ton of food, by the way. Wegmans is gonna be catering. Bianchi sausage is coming down.
Ice cream truck, we have.
ice cream truck, slush. So if you're listening out there, Medford, come on down. Captain?
Is there gonna be a Where's Barry sighting?
Well, I don't know about that, but no, we really would like each and every one of you to come down. And as Councilor Scott Pelley said, let's bring everyone together. This is going to be a great event. And we may have a surprise or two that Lieutenant Hartnett didn't mention. So put a little mystery in that to make it a little bit more interesting. But it sounds fantastic. It's going to be an outstanding event. We want to see each and every one of you there. We want to see as much of the community down there as possible. And we look forward to seeing you and come and meet some of our officers down there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, if I can.
So it just, again, this is the start. We're gonna keep going so that they know they're police officers in the city. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
If I can, Madam President, this is important, but we need to get the word out. Maybe one of those mystery surprises should be a robocall from someone.
Maybe.
But I will tell you, this is, what's amazing is this is what our officers do in a day in, day out anyway. It's amazing that, again, you brought this out and everybody's volunteering to get involved. And because I know the four people standing in front of me and the officers you mentioned all have a love and a tie to Medford and all want to continue with its greatness that it is. So I appreciate our men and women in blue. I think this is,
Thank you.
you know, you guys do, everybody does such a good job in making so many people feel welcome. But when you bring all those groups together for an event like that, it just reaffirms how great your department is and how great our community is. And I can't thank you enough for doing that. So I'll be there. I will not be in the dunk tank. There's a liability issue, Mark Carroll, but we can't, no one else can. So thank you. I think this is great.
Thank you. Thank you for your support.
Just want to say, you may see rank up here, lieutenants and sergeants, but this whole unit, this whole event, and this whole unit is really driven by the patrol officers, the ones you see on the street, the ones that are doing the good work 24 hours a day, the ones that are there at night while everyone's sleeping. They're the ones that are doing this work, and it wouldn't have been without their support and all their hard work that we wouldn't have been able to do this. So again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope to see you there.
Any further discussion from the council? I do see on Zoom, Bill Giglio, name and address for the record, please. Unmuting you.
Sorry, no, I was waiting for the thing to come up. So Bill Giglio, Winter Street, Medford. I just want to thank the police officers for putting this on. And I hope I'm not jinxing any of this, but is there a rain date just if in case, or is it is what it is?
We're working on that. So far, the weather looks good. I think 85 and cloudy. Even though it's cloudy still works.
Cloudy's better. Yeah.
Cloudy's not rain.
It would never rain on this event.
Great. Well, thank you, guys. Thank you. Thanks to the police department for putting this on. This sounds like a great event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Giglio. Thank you all. Do I have a motion on the, Mr. Cassignetti?
Good presentation, guys.
Name and address for the record, please.
Mr. Andrew Paul Castanetti, Cushion Street, Medford, Mass. I never thought I would say this. It's like 53 years since I've been to Woodstock, 1969. And I was not a big fan of Medford cops in those days. However, things certainly changed in the last 2 or 3 decades. And I truly respect them a lot more than back then. So I just want, especially in these trying times out there in this country and the world, I believe we should back our boys and girls in blue because they've come a long way since the safe deposit box heist.
Thank you, Mr. Cassignetti. Mr. Scarpelli.
If I can amend the motion, just make sure that we send out a robocall so everyone in the community knows about this amazing event. So I appreciate that.
Second.
So on the motion of Counselor Scarpelli as amended by Counselor Scarpelli, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Council Carviallo. Yes. Council Collins.
Yes.
Council Knight. Yes. Council Scarpelli.
Yes.
Council Singh.
Thumbs up.
President Morrell.
Yes. 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The motion passes. 22-437, offered by Counselor Carviallo. Be it so resolved that the Medford City Council have the Medford Police address the overnight tractor trailer parking within the city. Counselor Carviallo.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a problem that's been long going, especially on Commercial Street, on Route 16, and in the parking lots in our city, these overnight tractor trailer parking there. People are coming from other cities, they park the car here in the morning and take their truck, and then they come back at night and park it again there. Again, part of this is part of our curb appeal to the city. All of a sudden, City of Medford is now a truck stop for parking, for free parking. They're not Medford businesses. You can go by and look and see where they're from. There's a bunch from Everett and other different cities. Let them go out and get some parking somewhere else, not in our parking lots and not on our street. So I think Officer Hartnett just went out to buzz the chief. He's going to come right back in if you just give him a little quick second. I don't know if any other councilors have any other comments on that.
Any other discussion from any other counselors?
Just that most times those trucks, when they are parked there, do have someone that's inside them asleep. Normally, they're long haul truckers that are, limited by the amount of hours that they can travel on the road through federal DOT standards. So they could be going somewhere else. But yeah.
Thank you. Any further discussion from the council before we hear from Lieutenant Hartnett?
Charlie Harden, 100 Main Street. Sorry, Council.
Especially on Commercial Street, lining the streets every night. And, they leave the car there in the morning, take the car and come back and leave it again at night. A lot of the bunch of companies are from Everett and other cities are there. And they're also parking in the back of the parking lots of the shopping centers. And again, it's just, it's not part of our curb appeal that we're trying to improve in the city. Again, this is not City of Medford's not a truck stop. We're, for truck parking overnight. So I think it's about time that, they either get tagged, towed, or asked to move to another, to where they live.
And this is on Commercial Street, Council?
Mostly on Commercial. You'll see that there's probably 8 or 10 different trucks there. They're all local people, not from Medford, a bunch from Everett. And also we've got the ones that park and back at by the city yard. They leave the trucks there overnight and come back in the next day.
I know the city, behind the city, that's state jurisdiction.
That's state jurisdiction,
And that we're out of the purview of that. But as far as Commercial Street goes, I can definitely
Commercial Street,
relate.
they say, and you see they're parking in the parking lots overnight. And just leaving there, just leaving the trucks there and coming back and getting them in the morning.
Well, I can certainly relay
And I
these.
see the cars there and I see them switching off trucks and cars.
I can certainly relay these concerns, Council, to the Department's traffic unit and some of the overnight.
And I say, I'm getting calls from the businesses on that street saying that, it's getting to be a little too much for them. It's not one, it's 8, 9, 10 some nights. They just leave their trucks there and go back to Everett where they're from.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not in the traffic unit anymore, but I mean, certainly I can relay that to the traffic unit and our office and to the other shift commanders. So that we can
If
see
the
if
chief
we're
can
looking at the
report
issue.
back to us on what he wants to do with those, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any further discussion from the council? On the motion of Counselor Carviallo, as seconded by
Second.
Counselor Knight. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Barris.
Yes.
Counselor Carviallo.
Yes.
Counselor Collins.
Yes.
Counselor Knight. Yes. Counselor Scarpelli.
Yes.
Counselor Singh.
Yes.
Thumbs up.
I heard it.
Excellent. President Morrell.
Yes, 7 affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. Going on to 22-441, communications from the mayor. To Honorable President and members of the Medford City Council regarding the Board of Election Commission appointment. Dear President Morrell and members of the City Council, I respectfully request and recommend that your honorable body confirm the appointment of Aaron DiBenedetto, Democrat of 21 Dearborn Street, to the Election Commission for a term to expire March 30th, 2026. A copy of the appointment letter is attached. Thank you for your kind attention to this matter. Sincerely, Brenna Longo Karn, Mayor. We do not have anyone who's able to attend from the administration tonight. I know Ms. DiBenedetto is very familiar to all of us. I don't know if you want to speak or we have questions from the councilors.
If I can,
Councilor Scarpelli.
this is a no-brainer in my eyes. I think you're talking about the recommendation to appoint Aaron DiBenedetto to the Election Commission. See, this is a person that, who I know personally, and I can vouch for her that her commitment to this community and through volunteerism while her children were in the Medford Public Schools, and then her energy and efforts to then pick up the mantle, run for school committee and hold that office gives her an opportunity to really give that office a different viewpoint and a sense of history. So I think it's someone I respect, someone that I think is very honorable and would be a perfect fit for this position. So all I can say is I appreciate you even putting your name down, Erin, and continuing your pursuit and giving back to our community. So, and in another facet and form. So, and again, you have to thank your husband, Joe, who's always been there, and he just keeps smiling. I don't know what it is, just keeps dragging you, you keep dragging him out and he keeps smiling. So I would support this nomination. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Scarpelli. Councilor Carviallo.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to thank Erin for coming forward. Erin and I, we started out in public office together. We never really knew each other, but we, over the years, we've become real good friends. And again, Erin's a good person. She comes from a good family, and she's always been there for the community when whatever needed. She was a diligent member of our school committee, and she continues to serve our community in as a volunteer in many different ways. And I'm glad she stepped forward to take this position. I wholeheartedly support her. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, Councilor Carviallo. Any further discussion? Councilor Singh.
Thank you. Erin DiBenedetto was one of my mentors growing up. I think the other councilors have put very well, her service to the city. I'm excited to see that she's continuing to serve, choosing to continue to serve our community. I wish I could be there in person to see her, to give her a hug. But I'm happy to support her from my room and not to pass on my cough.
Thank you, Councilor Singh.
I second Councilor Scarpelli's motion to approve.
Any further discussion from the council? I do see, nope, that hand is gone. Okay, on the motion of Councilor Scarpelli to approve, seconded by Vice President Bears. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Councilor Carviallo.
Yes.
Councilor Collins.
Yes.
Councilor Knight.
Here's the answer.
Nigel.
Councilor Scarpelli.
Yes.
Councilor Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes, 6 in the affirmative, 1 absent, 0 in the negative. The motion passes. Congratulations, Erin.
Thank you, councilors.
Right, moving on to 22-442, City of Medford, call for state primary election Tuesday, September 6th, 2022. Be it ordered that the election coordinator be, and she is hereby authorized and directed to notify and warn such of the inhabitants of the City of Medford as were qualified by law to vote for candidates at the state primary election on Tuesday, September 6th, 2022, to assemble at the polling places in their respective wards and precincts, and there to give their votes for a governor, a lieutenant governor, an attorney general, a secretary of state, a treasurer, an auditor, a representative in Congress's 5th district, a counselor in the 6th district, a senator in General Court 2nd Middlesex district, a representative in General Court 23rd, 34th, and 35th Middlesex districts, a district attorney Northern District, a sheriff Middlesex County, and such other vacancies as may exist or occur in the state primary election. And the polls of said state primary election shall open at 7 a.m. and remain open until 8 p.m. Be it further ordered that the following named polling places be, and they are hereby designated for use at the state primary election on September 6th, 2022. Voting precincts: Ward 1, Precinct 1, Andrews Middle School, 3000 Mystic Valley Parkway. Ward 1, Precinct 2, Firefighters Club, 340 Salem Street. Ward 2, Precinct 1, Roberts Elementary School, 35 Court Street. Ward 2, Precinct 2, Roberts Elementary School, 35 Court Street. Ward 3, Precinct 1, American Legion Post 45, 321 Winthrop Street. Ward 3, Precinct 2, Temple Shalom, 475 Winthrop Street. Ward 4, Precinct 1, Tufts University Cousins Gym, front 161 College Ave. Ward 4, Precinct 2, Walkland Court / Auburn and North Street, Bondacaro Center. Ward 5, Precinct 1, Columbus Elementary School, 37 6th Ave, which, yes, this is the Missatuck, which will motion to amend that. So Ward 5, Precinct 2, Missatuck Elementary School, 37 Hicks Ave. Ward 6, Precinct 1, West Medford Fire Station, 26 Harvard Avenue. Ward 6, Precinct 2, Brook School, 388 High Street. Ward 7, Precinct 1, Mystic Valley Towers North Building Entrance Sales Office, 3600 Mystic Valley Parkway. Ward 7, Precinct 2, McGlynn K-8 Public School, 3004 Mystic Valley Parkway. Ward 8, Precinct 1, Senior Center, 101 Riverside Ave. And Ward 8, Precinct 2, South Medford Fire Station, 0 Medford Street. We have we have a motion from Council Scarpelli. I think it's Council Scarpelli to approve, but we do have elections coordinators. Nothing else to add?
It's all set.
Great. Do we have a motion to amend the language just to reflect the?
Motion to amend Ward 5 precincts 1, precincts 2 to reflect the name of the school.
So the motion of Councilor Scarpelli to approve as amended by Vice President Bears, seconded by Councilor Collins. Any discussion from the public? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Counselor Carviallo.
Yes.
Counselor Collins.
Yes.
Counselor Knight. Counselor Scarpelli.
Yes.
Counselor Singh.
Yes.
Thumbs up from Counselor Singh. President Morrell.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The motion passes. Okay, moving on to 2-443. 22-443 to the Honorable Medford City Council in response to election advisory number 22-01. The following are the City of Medford's early in-person state primary voting dates along with our designated location for your approval. Howard F. Alden Council Chambers located at City Hall, second floor, 85 George P. Hassett Drive, Medford, Mass. 02155. Saturday, August 27, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Sunday, August 28, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday, August 29, 2022, from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Tuesday, August 30th, 2022, from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Wednesday, August 31st, 2022, from 8:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Thursday, September 1st, 2022, 8:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Friday, September 2nd, 2022, from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Notices will be duly posted at the date and time required. Respectfully submitted, Sandra Burbine Gale, Elections Coordinator. Vice President Bears.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Sandy, for being here. Just wanted to confirm, so these are the 7 days of early voting for the primary election?
For the primary election. We have 14 days for the general.
14 days for the general in
Yes.
November, okay. And just in terms of mail ballots, is that starting as well? When is there a deadline for that?
There is a deadline. The deadline for mail-out ballots to request them, I believe, is the 23rd of August.
Okay.
I believe it's the request date. The 23rd of August is that date. And then just so you're aware, to compensate for the Monday holiday, that's why we're staying late till 5 p.m. on September the 2nd.
Got it.
Because otherwise we would have normally over-the-counter voting from 8:30 to 12, day before an election. But since we can't, we're compensating that with 5 o'clock. The vote by mail cards went out to Middlesex County last Thursday. I did receive information earlier today that people had started receiving those cards. So we're looking for those to start coming back at any time.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Any further discussion from the council?
Second, Councilor Scarpelli's motion to approve.
On the motion of Councilor Scarpelli to approve, seconded by Vice President Bears, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Counselor Carviallo.
Yes.
Counselor Collins.
Yes.
Counselor Knight. Counselor Scarpelli. Counselor Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to 22-439. Offered by Vice President Bears and Councilor Collins. Ordered by the City Council of the City of Medford that in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 59, Section 21CG of the Massachusetts General Laws, pending the approval of the Mayor of the City of Medford and with the approval of the Secretary of State's office, the following question shall be placed on the ballot and submitted to the voters of Medford at the biennial state election to be held on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. Quote, shall the City of Medford be allowed to assess an additional $12 million in real estate and personal property taxes for the purposes of the general operation of the Medford Public Schools for additional classroom teachers and staff, classroom and infrastructure needs, and classroom teacher and other district staff compensation, $6 million. The general operation of the Medford Public Library for additional staff, staff compensation, books and materials needed, $400,000. The general operation of the Department of Public Works for additional staff, road and sidewalk infrastructure needs, and tree planting and maintenance, $2,600,000. And for the operation of general government, $3 million, for which the monies from this assessment will be used for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023. Councilor Collins or Vice President Bears? Vice President Bears.
Thank you, Madam President. If I may, like to make a short presentation detailing the proposal in front of this body.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. If I can figure it out. So thank you, Madam President. As was just read was the language as required by Chapter 59, Section 21C, subsection G of Massachusetts General Laws pertains to property tax levy referendum vote. This presentation is regarding the specific proposal before us, which is to request that the mayor mayor submit to the Secretary of the Commonwealth a ballot question asking the voters to make the decision of whether or not the city should be allowed to assess additional property taxes to fund essential public schools and city services. As we discussed deeply extensively throughout June during the fiscal 23 budget process, Medford is not bringing in enough revenue to meet the spending needs for city services, public schools, and the maintenance of our buildings and infrastructure. We've talked about this extensively. We have bare bones budgets and low staffing levels for most of our city departments, which means that the city provides fewer services than residents expect and deserve. There's limited funds at our schools for new materials, educator and staff contracts, and maintenance. And we have a massive infrastructure backlog for our roads and sidewalks totaling $100 million. Many of our city and school buildings in crumbling or at least disrepaired state, and limited maintenance funds. Making that long-term problem worse, since fiscal year 2021, the city budget has had a structural deficit, which means that unreliable one-time revenue sources have been used to balance the budget in fiscal 2021, fiscal 2022, and fiscal 2023. This figure has ranged between $6 million and $12 million since fiscal 21, and about $8 million and $12 million over the last 2 fiscal years. What that means is that the only short-term options available to close the structural deficit as one-time revenue sources dry up are either 1, further budget and service cuts that will deeply hurt and impact our public schools and city departments, or raising revenue through the operating budget through a Proposition 2.5 override to close the structural deficit. In June, the council made several recommendations to the mayor, including a request that by July 14th, the mayor provide an alternative revenue plan that avoids further budget and service cuts in future fiscal years. The mayor's response to those recommendations in late June did not provide a detailed plan and suggested that fiscal 24 city budget may have even more service cuts than the budget that we just discussed. This is a chart of what that looks like. On the left, you see fiscal year 20, which was the last year that the city did not have a structural deficit. In fiscal year 21, we used almost $6 million in free cash to balance the budget. In fiscal year 2022, we used over $12 million in ARPA revenue replacement funds to balance the budget. The initial proposal for the fiscal 23 budget would have looked somewhere around $11.25 million in one-time revenue to balance the budget. That ended up coming down to about $7.8 million in one-time revenues once the final fiscal 23 budget was approved. So there's again, a significant structural deficit now baked into the city budget where we are relying on one-time revenue funds that may not be there in the future to provide the essential public school and city services that residents want. This is the process that has come up so far. As I mentioned before, at our June 14th and June 21st meetings, the council requested that the mayor provide an alternative plan to end the structural deficit and avoid cuts. We asked that to come to us by July 14th of this year. We received a response in June that did not have a detailed plan. And then today we received a press release from the mayor suggesting a $3 million override referendum. That came out around 1:30 today. The steps that would go before us on this, if we were to go on this timeline, again, this is the timeline where an override would be earliest on the ballot and would coincide with the current election cycle, would be the council voting at the meeting tonight, pending mayoral approval to place a referendum on the November 2022 ballot. According to state law, the mayor would then have to send the referendum to the Secretary of State by August 2nd, the first Wednesday in August, to then place an override referendum on the ballot. And then on November 8th of 2022, Medford voters would cast ballots to determine the outcome of the referendum. This proposed referendum, the text is here, it's already been read once. Ask that question is formed here on the right, along with a yes or a no option. As proposed, it would end the structural deficit facing the Medford City budget for fiscal year 24 and future fiscal years. It would provide needed resources for students and educators in our public schools. It would increase support for the Department of Public Works for staff and materials needed for road and sidewalk repairs, provide funding for the Medford Public Library, and would provide some flexible funding to address urgent issues and key priorities as needed. In addition to these items, in the long term, it would give the city breathing room to make long overdue investments in our city services as other revenues recover from the drop-offs that were caused by the pandemic. The cost impacts of this referendum as proposed for Medford residents are as follows. First, if a majority were to vote yes in November, if this were to be on the ballot, the property tax levy would increase by $12 million. This is commonly referred to as a Prop 2.5 override. The annual cost for the average single-family home, which was valued at $654,400, would be $549.70 per year. So it would cost $550 per year for the average single-family property. That's $46 a month or $1.50 per day. The way this would work is it would change the tax rate and then apply to each property based on assessed value. The Massachusetts Department of Revenue provides a tool to calculate impact on taxpayers. If this were to appear on the ballot and a yes vote were to happen, it would only allow an increase over 2.5% for 1 year, fiscal year 2024. All future years would be limited to the same 2.5 increase that the city has been limited to since 1980. The city can also implement exemptions to help residents most affected. I believe in August, we have on our agenda to be discussing the residential and owner occupied exemption, as well as potentially I have an item on the agenda tonight. We're increasing the eligibility and exemption amount for the over 65 senior exemption. Oh, absolutely. And again, if you want to actually look at the calculator from the Massachusetts Department of Revenue, you can go to this link, bit.ly/DLS tax calc, and you can plug in any amount you want and see what that impact would be on the average resident. This is actually that exact calculation pulled out today. Maybe a little hard to see, but I will be posting these slides after the meeting online. Again, for the average single family property, valued at $650,000, it would be a $550 per year increase. So thank you for allowing me to make that presentation. I'd just like to follow up with a couple of comments. This is a proposal specifically to address the existing structural deficit within the city budget and avoid further cuts in fiscal year 2024 and beyond. It does not address our capital needs backlog, like a new fire headquarters, Medford High School, or the $100 million road and sidewalk deferred maintenance amount. This proposed amount and timeline is because it would fully eliminate the structural deficit in one fiscal year, provide certainty and stability for our city's financial future, and do so within an already scheduled election. Now, this is just me personally. It is my personal firm belief that we have to act now, and that we need to trust the voters to make this decision to end the structural deficit and stop future cuts to our budget. However, regardless of what happens tonight or between now and August 2nd, the August 2nd deadline to move forward on this timeline, I remain fully open to suggested changes by my council colleagues, collaborative engagement with the mayor's office, which appeared to begin today, and I would support any process needed to move forward, whether it's the one that I've outlined tonight or a different process that we work towards collaboratively. At the end of the day, the budget is in the situation that it's in. We have a structural deficit, and we know from the month of discussion around the fiscal 23 budget that our public schools and our city departments can't afford any more cuts. There's nothing left to cut in the city. And if we don't find revenue to address the structural deficit, we're going to be in a very difficult position in fiscal year 24 and years beyond that. I'd like to conclude my comments by thanking my fellow councilors for allowing me to make this presentation, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say about this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Bears. Councilor Collins, would you like to speak?
Sure. Thank you, President Burrell. Not to belabor the points that Vice President Bears has already made, but just to underline a few of them to further expand on my perspective and why I was interested in co-sponsoring this motion. What I hear about the most from my constituents are roads, the library, the schools, trees, city services, as was discussed, as we said, ad nauseum during the fiscal year 23 budget process over the past month. We have a structural deficit. We can't do more with less. We can't continue to keep asking our city staff, our city services to do more with less. I don't find it acceptable to continue cutting city services to the bone and asking our residents to make do with fewer and fewer resources and services, asking our city staff to do more and more with less and less support. We heard during the fiscal year 23 budget process that next year's budget will likely be even leaner. I don't think, personally, I'm not willing to accept cuts that are even deeper for next year than what we were asked to contemplate for fiscal year 23, because we saw and we heard from the residents and the staff of the city how that would affect our city's operation. I also want to emphasize, as was already explained, if the mayor approves this resolution, if this resolution proceeds as it's currently designed, it would become a referendum on the fall ballot. It would be left up to the voters to decide yes or no. This is not a matter to be taken lightly. This is a big question. I want to see it put to the voters. This isn't something for this 7-member body to decide. I want to see this put to the voters to decide how we invest in the future of this community. And I also just wanted to shore up Vice President Bears' last point. I think that developing a reliable, sustainable, appropriate revenue plan to fund our community's urgent, deserved needs is an urgent matter. I'm also willing to collaborate and be flexible on what exactly that looks like, and including some other proposals that are on our council agenda tonight. I'm also open to exploring all of the options to mitigate the potentially painful effects of an override. For example, the proposal to increase the senior exemption to the maximum allowable amount. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Collins. Councilor Scarpelli.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you for my colleagues to bring this forward, because it is something that we can discuss and discuss we should. But, I'm looking at this in 3 different processes. One, the presentation and the process. I think that the budget season was difficult, but, I've heard from so many constituents that something serious as this, probably something, this is probably a topic that's probably one of the most intense, serious questions that we should visit in our community that in years, that we haven't visited in years. So I think understanding the process and looking how it was presented, that, we're presenting this in the middle of the summer, and a lot of people that aren't around to really share the concerns. I personally received over 100 emails, phone calls, people expressing concerns, questions that we have. And one, to reiterate the process, not having the city assessor here tonight to answer some questions, I think it's very important. To not have the questions that we have to get answered for us is very important. For one, the senior exemption, I think it sounds great. I think we should give every senior exemption. Unfortunately, it falls back on the taxpayers. It'll be an additional money. So where we're talking about $12 million, if we have a tax break and understand the ramifications of who's going to pick up that break, it's going to be taxpayers, the general taxpayer. And that number that Council Beer has mentioned of $500 some odd a year, that's a question. The other question people are asking is, okay, so this is for 1 year. Then what do we do after that? Do we apply for others? So these are just simple questions that can't be answered. The other piece of this is truly the infrastructure within City Hall right now. I don't think we have the manpower or the person power to really function or present an override in its totality that could be put forth in a thoughtful and professional way. I just don't think we have that capacity today. So I think that's another concern. And then when it comes down to the concerns of the constituents, and I'll share with everybody, the biggest issue is that this is going to affect so many different people. We had a budget season that was very contentious, and a lot of people called us extortionists, but it was something that we needed to move forward to make sure that the city gets the basic necessities that we think we need to move forward. And then I had a discussion with the mayor and talking about some of the concerns we've had for years. I was a councilor that put forth a debt exclusion for a new fire station. The mayor assured me that it's going out to architectural design this week, and we're moving forward with the new fire station. So that's in a positive light. What we've gone through, what Council Bears so eloquently put, and the pains that we've seen the last couple of years, I think had a direct reflection on the COVID outbreak and the lack of growth here in the community. We talked about the 40B projects that we haven't been able to get off the ground and creating revenue that way. The Mystic Ave corridor and increasing revenue by opening up new zoning for clean energy or biotech or whatever is talked about. I know Councilor Carviallo talked about everyone else being landlocked and Medford being a unique community right now that we can really do some great things and create revenue that way. So our first license went out to our marijuana distributor that will bring in some funding. So we're finally seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. And believe me, that I'm not calling this a knee-jerk reaction, because it isn't, because we've lived through some tough times. But I think ultimately who this affects in the community are the people we're trying to support. I mean, all of us have talked about, affordable housing, people not being able to live in Medford, people not even able to afford rents. Well, the homes that aren't single family or the homes that are rented, what happens? Because the taxpayer is not going to fit the bill for this. All they're going to do is turn and increase rents for their renters. And that's not going to help one of the biggest groups we've all worked for to make sure that we can make sure that Medford's affordable for all. So I think there's a lot of questions that if we had a team here and we can sit together and figure out what's the best course of action with the true blueprint of what true new growth looks like and understanding where we need to move. Listen, if $3 million is what it is and we need to move forward with that after it's a thorough plan and how we don't hurt our taxpayers as much as we can, I think it's something we visit. but it's something we visit and explore. I think it's very dangerous tonight. The other point that I'll bring up is that, and I talked to my colleague about this, that, George, people, this is another Missatuck. It's another Missatuck. In the middle of the summer, you're coming in, you're blindsiding the public, and then bam. We don't want to divide. I think we've done a good job working together, and I just don't want to divide the city any more than it has to be. So I think that these are important issues. It's something that we've all looked at, but I think it's also important that we truly don't know what's down the line. We've asked the mayor, and I think the mayor is going to present us with a capital improvement plan. And one of those plans is going to be a new high school. And if that's the case, if you're talking about looking at the parents and that, what they'll be asking for something like that, and what we're asking for today, it's not just $550. This is something that's going to be impacted in many different levels. So a household's not just going to see an increase of $550. It's going to be much greater, and that's what I fear. And I think that not having, people in this room that can answer our questions and us not vetting that out properly and as a team, I think, even with any money paper, we do how many readings? We do 3 readings. So I think it behoove us, I know I want to hear everybody before I make any motions, but it would be really beneficial for all of us to really sit down and look at the plan of totality before, we put this out there. And it's knee-jerk reaction, because the truth of the matter is, I've gotten the emails too that said, hey, we need that override, support the override. Well, okay, in theory, it sounds great. With $12 million, we get to do all these great things. We don't know that. So, and that's the other underlying situation that is bothersome to me. So I just caution. I know that everybody wants, other people want to talk, but I just, I appreciate bringing this forward because the dialogue has to come out. We are in some constraints, but I think this is another situation. We work together with the administration, say, let's look at true new growth instead of looking for a Proposition 2.5 override. I think that looking at that and exhausting that before we do something this drastic, because this hurts the person that lives in our neighborhoods and in every single home and apartment in the city of Medford. So we just have to be careful because, as good as it sounds up front, and you did your homework. No one's ever going to question that. It's very thorough, but there are other questions that is this with the 2.5? Is this added with the 2.5 or without the 2.5, the original 2.5? Is it with the, how much would it be if we had to incur the cost of the senior exemption? So I understand that where that went, because we did our assessment. We got a report back when I tried to do the debt exclusion for the fire station. And I believe it was with every single senior citizen to be excluded, it was $17 a quarter, I believe, for our taxpayers to build a new fire station. So I know the process. I know it's not easy. That failed, I believe, 6-1 back in the day. So, and again, even at that point, I presented it knowing that we haven't vetted it out properly. So, and this is a big deal here in the city. So, like I said, I really think we should take a deep breath, look at all the information that was presented, and really move on to another meeting so we can understand this with all our stakeholders in the room. That means the mayor's office, our city assessor, and looking at all of the different angles and all the different possibilities that we can benefit from and we can also hurt from. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor Scarpelli. Councilor Knight.
Madam President, thank you very much. I think it's important to point out that we have a deficit because the council approved the spending. The council approved the spending, all right? And we certainly do have a revenue problem, but we also have a spending problem. And we have a prioritization of spending problem. Okay, so when we look at kind of override as the only 2 options, I don't think that that's the case. I think we had an opportunity to eliminate a lot of waste in this last budget. when we look at what's going on with KP Law in this package here, of $255,000 in outside legal fees, that's $255,000 that could have gone to the school department. The mayor gave us $300,000 out of the utility account. So the lights might not be on at the hockey rink come the end of the school year, but we got the $300,000 back in the budget because she took it out of the utilities account. She wanted to take it out of the contract account. We have a spending problem. We have a spending problem. We haven't embraced development to generate new growth. We're fighting 340B projects that would bring in millions and millions of dollars to this community. We had the gentleman up here today talking about a small scale project that's going to bring in $300,000 annually, just off permit fees and property taxes, plus the jobs it's going to create, which is going to bring more revenue into our community and the circular flow of our local economy. We have inflated salaries in a top-heavy school administration. We're not investing money in the classroom. We're investing money at the top. We're investing money at the top. I remember doing budgets with Roy Belson. He'd get up here and he'd speak for 5 hours. He'd know every single dollar, where it was being spent, why it was being spent, inside and out. He didn't talk about rubrics. He didn't call somebody up here to speak for him. He got paid $160,000. He came to work for 20 hours a day, and he knew that budget inside and out. We have human resource issues across every single department in the city. And we have a proven lack of fiscal constraint, transparency and mismanagement. So is now the time to give the administration more money to spend when they've shown us that they can't do it responsibly now? And we've been part and parcel with it, improving spending above and beyond our means. So when we do that, yeah, I guess Councilor Beers is right. When we spend above our means, the only thing we can do is ask for more money. But if we sit down and we take a look at the budget and we see that we have a $100,000 human resource director in the school department and a $140,000 human resource director on the city side, and they're not communicating and they're not working together, I think that's a duplication of efforts and wasteful spending. We need to look at this in a way that the individuals in this community, if this goes through, and quite frankly, I think that we do need to generate more revenue. How we do it is the question, right? Now, if you look at the tax rate in the city of Medford, it's very low compared to our neighboring communities. It's very low. And over time, we've seen our commercial properties and the number of parcels that are commercial dwindle. So we're at about 7% now. You know what I mean? I'd like to see us at around 15 to 20 for us to have that strong commercial tax base so that we don't need to have this conversation every year. But we can't do that with a zoning board of appeals that doesn't embrace growth, with a historical commission that won't let anybody improve their own homes to generate increased tax revenue and improve curb appeal in neighborhoods. So while this is a very interesting issue, and it's an issue that needs to be discussed and needs to be talked about, because we cannot continue to go on this way. We absolutely cannot. All right. Our roads are the worst in the region. Our DPW is the most understaffed in the region. $2.6 million for DPW personnel will go a long way. It will go a long way if the money ever gets there, if the money goes to where it's intended to go. At the very least, if this question does come to fruition, if this issue does come up, every individual should get an estimate as to what it's going to cost them individually. And it would be great if we had an assessor in this community that could answer some questions and put that data and information together for us. But we don't even have an assessor. So for us to do this right now, I think is scary. We're looking at exemptions. Exemptions are great, but the money has to be shifted somewhere. And the more exemptions we pass, the more we're going to squeeze those in the middle. And they're already being squeezed. So we have a lot to think about here and a lot to discuss. I just see this as a spending issue and a spending problem here in the community, as well as a number of other issues that are going on that I think are putting us in a position to be a little bit less financially sound than we could be if we were a little bit more proactive. 3 years ago, we passed the budget, and that budget had $0 of deficit spending. 3 years later, we spent $29.7 million in deficit spending. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Counselor Knight. Counselor Carviallo.
Thank you, Madam President. So July 19th, we sit here tonight and trying to raise $12 million. And, all my councilors have all made great points. Councilor Bears, you're right. The city needs more money. But, with the problem with government, the more money we give government, the more money government spends. And I think my other council's right. I think we have to look on where we're spending our money and what we're doing with it. I mean, how much more do we want? How much more do we want to keep giving this administration to spend? So if this group was really serious about your proposals tonight, we have no assessor here tonight to answer any questions. And the assessor that we have is only interim, who's working for 2 different cities, which I don't even know if that's even legal. Right? There's no CFO here tonight to answer any questions, and there's nobody from the administration to answer any questions here tonight. And I say that's to me that says that across the hall doesn't care. They say there's nobody care. And this money should have been added into our budget from 3 weeks ago when we voted on it. And let's say we squeezed as much as we could out of it, but going forward, who ultimately pays for all this? It's the renters. I say I don't think I know a generous landlord in this community who's going to take a tax hit and not pass it on to the renters. And we talk about affordable housing. Affordable housing keeps going up. And we are probably in the worst of times financially for many people in this community. Washington is tone deaf to what's happening in this whole country because look at inflation, gas, food, your electric bill, your gas bill, your oil bill. These are all bills that are mounting every day. And now I know we say the average house is 600,000. There's not many average houses in this community. I think if we actually go out and look, you're gonna see a lot more. They say, well, $800 is not that much money, $1,000 or $500. For some people, it is a lot of money. There's a lot of money. People are struggling right now. There's still people that aren't back to work. We have seniors in this community that are single seniors, that may not have a husband or a wife. That yes, are they house rich? Yes, they are. And that house rich is going to cost them more money if we pass this. So again, I agree. We do need to control our spending, but to keep asking for money every year is just not a fiscal way to run a city. I think we have to control our spending and get a fiscal plan in order before we vote on anything. And like I say, we have nobody from any part of the city government here to give us any guidance or any of their opinion on anything today, other than something that we got at 2:00 this afternoon from the mayor's office.
Thank you, Counselor Carviallo. Vice President Bears.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you to my fellow colleagues for their comments. This isn't the administration I want to be managing this money. This isn't the situation I want us to be in. We've been asking, whether it's, what are we at, 2.5 years now? We've been asking for certain financial reporting and information. 7 months we've been asking for it under this council. I can't even begin to think the number of hours we spent in June going through the budget and saying what the heck is going on, and us having to do the deep research with our packet of, sheets of paper where we didn't know what was happening. I don't disagree with that at all. But as you said, there isn't anyone here tonight from the administration. We asked unanimously a month ago, we can say it's coming up now, and I understand this specific proposal is coming up now. But we asked over a month ago, after months and months and years of requests for a fiscal plan and a revenue plan, and how are we moving forward and how are we going to fund the city for something, and we got an answer 5 hours before the meeting that was, maybe we could do something like this, and we're just starting to think about it today. So you're right. Where's the leadership? At this point, I understand the concerns that you have, but we all know that there's not $8 to $12 million in this city budget that we can go find. That doesn't mean firing people who work for this city. It's just not there. We could find a few 100,000, maybe we're lucky, we find a couple million. But if we hit the wall in fiscal '24 and we can't address this structural deficit, and we're talking 4, 8, 12 million in a structural deficit where we don't have the revenue to come in, it means people are getting laid off, that the city's providing even less than it already is providing, and things are getting worse. The people who are hurt the most when government isn't there are the people who need government the most. So I understand that the higher costs on taxpayers it's going to have different impacts on everyone who pays. We're all individual people. We all have our own stories. We all have our own experiences. And I don't want to mitigate that. But the act of government that we do is balancing. You can't name a single business in the world where when their costs go up 9% in a year, they can only raise their price 2.5%. It doesn't exist. There's no business in the world where you would have to cut, essentially that's what we're saying. If we're going to go into this situation without additional revenue, and I understand all of the reasons my fellow councilors have put out reticence with this administration, how they'll manage it and all of that. But if we run into that wall in 11 months, which the mayor basically said to us in her budget letter, we're going to run into that wall because the ARPA money is going away and we don't have the one-time revenue and we have a structural deficit and we're going to be responsible and lean. Whose jobs are we going to be responsible and lean with? I don't want to fire people. We already know the city can't do what it needs to do. So I understand that we need more leadership. I completely agree that we should have a proactive revenue plan for this city. At this point, it's fallen on us. We don't have a staff. We don't have an assessor. We don't have a finance department. We're just a city council of the city of Medford. Somebody needs to step up. Now, I understand the reticence. I completely understand it. I wish we weren't at this moment asking this mayor to manage this money. I agree with that, but we are where we are. And as I said in fiscal 21 and fiscal 23, and now looks like I'm going to have to say in fiscal 24, I'm not going to vote for a budget where there's less teachers. I'm not going to vote for a budget where there's less public safety. I'm not going to vote for a budget where there's less public works. I'm not going to vote for a budget where we defer the maintenance on our roads and sidewalks and buildings even more. It's unsustainable. It's completely unsustainable. So that's why I think we need action now. I hear that there are hundreds of people who are concerned that we wish we had a better process, that we had more time to discuss it. We've been asking for that. I don't disagree with anyone that we've been asking for that. We haven't gotten it. And now we're getting pushed to the wall. So that's the reason I put this before you with Councilor Collins tonight, is because our backs are against the wall. And I don't want it to be next June where we're finding out, oh my God, we don't have this money. We're going to have to cut this at the last minute. There's another 10 jobs gone. There's another bunch of vacancies gone. There's another bunch of pink slips at the school. We're sitting here till 2 a.m. having a negotiation that we should have had over the months and months before that. I don't want to be there again. If we get there again, I'm going to feel confident that I put something on the table to try to avoid it. If it doesn't pass this council, it doesn't pass this council. If the mayor doesn't put it on the ballot, the mayor doesn't put it on the ballot. If the voters vote it down, the voters vote it down. I just want to advance some solution to this problem because it's not coming from the executive leadership right now. It's just not. I mean, we put it out there a month ago. Send us something, please. A plan that's not this. Anything that's not this. That was the resolution. Nothing. And then what do we get today? We get this, but smaller. So there is no plan that's not this. Again, I respect all of you deeply. We've done a lot of good work. We're going to come to consensus. I want to try to move through a process where we have the least harmful impacts that we possibly can, and we do our best to keep the city functioning and avoid laying people off and firing people. I think this is an approach to get there. I'm open to alternatives or amendments or different approaches to get there. And I'll leave it at that. I know it feels like a short timeline. I know it feels like we need more here. And maybe we can come back. Maybe there's a special election. Maybe there's something else, right? I don't know. I'm not trying to put this in a box. I'm just saying there's an election in November. This is how we address this problem with the election in November. And I think it's something we need to seriously consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Sang.
Thank you, Madam President. I know this is a serious debate. This is a topic about which I've received dozens and dozens and dozens of emails and calls over the last few weeks. including during budget season. And I think more importantly than all the messages that I've received, I live both sides of this debate. My parents are homeowners in the city. They've invested in this city. I recently graduated from the Medford Public Schools. I know what the budget cuts look like. And I know what the tightness of the money looks like. And I've been on the doorsteps and I've been asked to campaign and they've been asked to, improve our roads, improve our schools, do X, Y, Z. But the fact of the matter is, something I've learned while in this office is we don't even have a bare bones budget. Our budget cuts through the bone. We can talk about a lean government. We can talk about a fiscally responsible government. We can talk about a government that only serves the basics, but we aren't even there yet. And when we asked the mayor for a plan, what we heard was, we don't really have a plan. Next year will be worse. The only way we can, and the implication is the only way we can get out of this mess is to advance politically difficult ideas. It's not on my wish list to raise taxes in the city. No one likes it. No one likes it. And it's a political risk to do it anyways. But I think we need to step up and lead and trust the people with this decision. I think, we've heard a lot about cutting spending and new growth. The fact is, when we look at, all the proposals of things that we could cut in the city budget, it doesn't get anywhere close to 12 million. The only way we can get to that 12 million, as Vice President Bear said, is to lay off very essential staff in our city. And even with the budget that we have now, even if we didn't have to cut, we're already losing important members of our staff. We're already unable to fill very important positions in city government that every other city government in our region has. When we talk about new growth, I think all 7 of our councilors here and everyone in city government is behind new growth in our city. We want to see us grow our commercial tax base, and we want this to be the first path that we use. But the fact of the matter is, because of practicality, even if we have all that new growth immediately, even if we were to sign all these deals tomorrow, we wouldn't be able to get out of the budget crunch that we're going to see for the next year, 2 years, 3 years. Because it takes years for a building to be built. It takes years for those investments to be made. I understand that this is coming at a very tough time for everyone. And I understand that inflation is, an issue that really does hit everyone. I mean, you look at the gas prices, you look at food, it's evident, right? But these investments are long-term investments that will reap benefits, financial benefits to homeowners and to renters alike, to everyone in our city. And, if we fix our roads, that means we don't have to spend as much on maintenance. We don't have to, we might not have to spend the money that I did recently on fixing a flat, right? These savings matter. These savings matter. And this investment, in my personal opinion, comes at a difficult time. I wish it didn't come at this time, but is, an investment that I personally think is worth it. But I think, that whole point doesn't get at the heart of the issue that actually is in front of us tonight. The issue that's actually in front of us tonight is whether we send this to the voters, whether we trust the voters with this ask. I believe that if you're a yes on this, if you're a no on this, as a councillor, it's our social responsibility to trust the voters with the final decision. I don't want to impose my views on the voters. And if the voters decide differently than I do, then so be it. I trust the voters. And I think the same works the vice versa. If councillors don't like this idea, leave it to the voters. Trust the voters to decide. That's my personal view, because I think, this is a time where we really need to trust in our residents, and we need to really trust in our democracy. And this is the fairest and most neutral path forward. Put aside my own personal views on this issue. And if I were, coming at it from a completely neutral standpoint, the only fair decision, in my opinion, is to send this to the voters and to trust them with the final decision. I hope I know that many of our residents here tonight are not going to agree with me on what I just said. I know that, many will never agree or never come around to our viewpoint, but I hope that you understand where I'm coming from as I'm trying to, as I try to understand where everyone comes from. I hope that, we can speak earnestly and honestly about this issue. And I hope that we can compromise a little bit and find, reasonable solutions out of this budget crunch, out of this revenue crisis. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Counselor Singh. Counselor Knight?
Madam President, thank you very much. First of all, I think it's safe to say that the budget that we have right now isn't the budget that any of us want. All right. The question is, will $12 million give us that? And I don't think it will, because the budget we have right now is the same budget that we've had for 40 years. It's just been tweaked and tweaked and tweaked and tweaked year after year. We've never really had a major comprehensive reform or a look at the way we spend in this community. We've never prioritized the way we spend in this community. I called for a zero-based budget when COVID hit. Perfect opportunity for us to break it down to zero and build every department back up. Start using, how about metrics and data-driven decision-making instead of reactive decision-making, right? We didn't do that. Now, week in and week out, and it's been going on for 30 years, you hear the same thing. Fix this sidewalk, fix this road, fix this street. We ask for more. We ask for priority spending in various areas across the community, and we're not getting it. All right. So I see what Councilor Bears is doing. He's bringing a solution to a problem. All right. I think there's more than one way to do it. I know he thinks there's many ways to do it. He's looked at them all, or the ones that he's looked at it, and he thinks that this is the best one. All right. And he thinks this is the best one because you know why? It plugs the hole exactly, right? It stops all the bleeding. We're ready to rock and roll. We're back to even, and we're going to move forward, right? I get it. I get where you're coming from. I do. I really do. I get it, right? But I still don't think that 12 million would give us the budget that we want, or the budget that we're looking for, or the spending in the priority areas that we've been asking for. And until we take that budget and break it down to zero, to see whether or not we can make do with what we have, a little more or a little less, I think we're doing a little bit of a disservice. Now, I agree. There's not a lot of places you can cut, but there are places you can cut. It's not so much cutting as it is moving the shells around, right? This account might have to go into that account, just like end of the year transfers that we see every year. We pass a budget. The budget isn't the budget. At the end of the year, they come to us and they say, there's $1 million in the fire department's overtime account that wasn't spent. Let's transfer it over here. Right? Every year, there's $1 million in this account that wasn't spent. Let's transfer it over there. The budget's a best case scenario, right? When you look at the budget's just a picture. If everything went perfect, this is how it would be spent. But it's never spent that way. It's never, ever spent that way. And I think that there has to be a discussion. There has to be a process. But to say, let the voters trust the voters, I've always trusted the voters, Justin. I've always trusted the voters. That's why we're here, because the voters trust us. I've trusted the voters. I've put my faith in them, and they've given me the opportunity to sit here and serve. So when it comes up to a circumstance like this, where I think the process is a little bit flawed, because it's in the 11th hour, because we've been left with no other options other than to say, can we live with this for another 12 months and then start a process all over again and exercise in futility if you must at some points, we think, because we have a partner that doesn't want to cooperate, or doesn't want to have a strong partnership with us. A chief of staff that comes up here and fights with us instead of works with us, gives us more defenses than answers. Right? We're going to be in the same situation again. I understand that. And I can appreciate Councilor Calls and Councilor Bears bringing this issue up and saying, look it, we have a large scale problem and here's a large scale solution. We can keep putting Band-Aids on things, or we can go in for surgery, right? And that's really what this is. This is us making a decision as to whether or not we want to do conservative treatment or go in for surgery. And that's something that needs to be weighed. And when you oppose with that question in your personal life, you surround yourself with the people, your family. That's our community right now. That's our family, the community. And you tell them what's going on and you get their input. So we really need to establish a process if this is the direction that we want to go in. And the process can't be this short. I'd be happy to have this discussion moving forward to get this ready to go at some point in time to get language that's proper for us, to see what our financial needs are and move on something, but now's not the time. Now's not the time. I remember when we took a vote on Mystic Avenue in the middle of the summer. You would have thought Mayor Longo's head was going to explode. She used that to catapult herself into office. She thought that Stephanie Burke was going to put apartments all up and down Mystic Ave, that no one was going to be able to drive their car. Never happened. Nothing's happened on Mystic Ave since. Nothing's happened on Mystic Ave since. There's been no development. There's been no growth. Until this council passed the recodification of zoning and was able to start generating revenue for this community. So we have some tools in our toolbox too right now. In September, we're going to get an RFP out. I mean, in September, we're going to get an assistant city solicitor, we're told. We're going to get an RFP out for our zoning consultant to continue to build upon the work that we've done. We're going to be able to generate revenue for that. So I think we're going to be able to do our part in creating recurring non-tax-based, recurring revenues, not one-time revenue sources. But in terms of this question, in the direction that we're going in, I commend you on the hard work that you've both put into this and the efforts that you put forward. I'm not comfortable with it based upon the timing and the process, more so than the question that's being asked. I do have a couple of concerns that are legal in nature surrounding this. Can we put a question on that says $0 or $1? Is a plurality? Is it 50% of the people that voted or just 50% of the people that voted the question? That would make this, that would enable this and enact it, so there are a couple of questions that I have related to the process of passage as well as the financial side of things without an assessor. I just think we're in a real scary spot right now. And we're talking about assessments and exemptions and shifting a pot of money around among a small group of people. We really need to know what the dollars and cents are going to be. Without an assessor, we can't do that.
Thank you, Councilor Knight. Councilor Scarpelli.
Thank you. And I think Council Knight makes a lot of sense. And, I think Council Bears brings up a lot of concerns that we all feel. But I think that there is a better solution. I think that, I'd make the motion that we table this and we move forward with with the administration, that we put a team together with this council to focus on new growth and put a plan in place, because I think where we are right now, we're at 12 o'clock where we were during budget season, during budget night. I think that we're at a point right now that either side, if this goes one way or the other, it's going to impact a lot of this community in a negative way. Where instead, I think it's a push that we need to get everybody at the table with our leadership here and move forward quickly and looking at and moving forward with new growth. I think that it's out there. We talked about the fees, we talked about the permitting, we talked about the new growth in taxes. We talked about all these avenues that we have possibilities to build that number. And maybe at the end of it, we see that there is still a deficit of some odd $1 million that we need to look and focus and bring it to the voters. But right now, like Council Knight said, and like I said previously, I think it's the process right now that this council has done great things together and we've listened to each other. And I think we respected a lot of what we needed. And I think this council today needs to look at this, but really not to be that quick in moving forward with this. I think that, I hear council saying, that the put it to the voters, but I think first the voters put us here to do our job. And I don't think we've done enough right now to get the most from the administration and ways we can work as a unit to create the revenue we need, that we don't have to go for Proposition 2.5 override. So I'm hoping my fellow councils can see that. I would love to see a date certain for a meeting with the administration, the city assessor, and looking at a list of new growth that we together, that we already know. I mean, we've already talked about the 40B project. We have already talked about Mystic Ave. We've already talked about Medford Square. I think it's time we need to do that. I mean, and I think we're ready to do that. I think the mayor and the administration, hopefully that ready to come to the table and let's get this done. I think that moving forward with the Proposition 2.5 override in this process, I think is a little, is a slippery slope in many different ways. So again, like I said, I appreciate the banter, I appreciate the information, but I think it's something that we need to, this is our job, to find a way to bring everybody together so we can find a solution other than the most drastic. And I know some of us feel like we're ready for the most drastic, but I think it should be revisited in a different light. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Counselor Collins and Counselor Carviallo.
Thank you, President Morrell. I'll keep this short. I just wanted to add a little bit more elaboration around my perspective on the issue and to follow up on some of the points that my colleagues have made. And I want to thank all my fellow counselors for the thoughtful dialogue around this. I really respect your points of view. I hear where you're coming from. And I know that I think where we're all coming from is aspiring towards fiscal responsibility and doing what's best for the community. And I appreciate all of you for speaking from that perspective, though our opinions differ. I think we all want to make sure that we're taking the best course of action for where we are right now. And for me, just to explain my own perspective a little bit more, when I think about timing and process, I think back on the past 6 weeks and I think, well, the clock just started. It's 12 months until another level funded, level service budget that is going to be harmful for the schools, for the library, for constituents who don't know when their road is going to get paved, not to mention all of the needs, housing stability needs, environmental needs, that we have no time frame for when those are going to start to be filled in our community. And I agree that so many other measures are a crucial part of that formula, growing the commercial tax base being among them. And I also know that those chickens aren't going to come home to roost within the next 12 months. And so this is why this issue to me is so glaring and so urgent that I want this override to be seriously considered, because the needs going unmet in our community, to me, they're just that urgent. To the people that I'm hearing from, they're just that urgent. So I just wanted to circle back to that point to share more on my perspective on why, to me, that's the part of timing and process that I'm most preoccupied with. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Collins. And I do apologize. Counselor Scarpelli, was that a motion to table or just, was that an official motion or just thinking that? Okay. Counselor Carviallo.
Thank you, Madam President. We've gone around this whole table here and we've all come up with good suggestions. But, the bottom line is, this came in Friday afternoon. We've had 3 days to digest this, 4 days to digest this. And like I said, like Councilor Knight said, if the mayor was still sitting there as a councilor, she'd be going through the roof here with this, because I've been here with her when she's done that. Again, for these type of, they're going to say, you've done this in the dead of the summer when no one's around to do this and to hear what's going on. And I agree. And we've been chastised for less things doing this. But to jam this through with 3 days notice, and I know this has got to get on by, if we want to get it done, it's got to get on by August 3rd. I get that too. But I think we need to sit down and figure out where the city is going, the things that we've done right, and look at the things we've done wrong. Nobody's perfect, and and to say, just figure out where our mistakes are and come up with a plan to spend them for spending. Even if we get this money, we do this. How do we know it's going to go to where we intended to go? That's where my concern is. I just don't have confidence that even if it's 3 million or 5 million, whatever it is, I don't know if it ever gets to the spot where it's intended to be. I mean, we can keep on using COVID as an excuse. Other cities developed. Look at the city of Malden. Look what they did during COVID. They developed their whole downtown area during that time. They didn't miss a beat. What did we do during COVID? We sat around. Again, government goes on, whether it's COVID or there's always going to be a situation of some kind of emergency. And government needs to continue. Government just doesn't stop for a certain situation. So, we haven't done anything for 3 years, 4 years, no shovels in the ground. And like Council Collins says, we're not going to see the fruits of those projects that are just starting now. I mean, we still don't have a shovel in the ground. We'll say, this thing's going to be lucky if we ever see any fruits to this for maybe 3 to 4 years. No, I mean, we sat around with our cannabis license, and now we're doing them. But I just don't have confidence in giving out any more money that I'm not sure it's going to go to where I think it's going to go in the right spot. So I'm not going to support this evening.
Thank you, Councilor Carviallo. Any further discussion from the council?
I think we have residents who want to speak.
Yeah, I do know. So we have a number of residents that want to speak. Do the high number. If we could keep comments to 2 minutes, I encourage you, you do have to address comments through the chair. Please, no personal attacks. And I will be watching the time, and we'll be taking folks in person and on Zoom. So name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Council President Morel. Good evening, honorable councilors. My name is Mr. Andrew P. Castanetti, and usually I speak last on issues, and to throw out my Andrewisms or sort of, but Councilor Marks allowed me to speak first, and I'm going to let the best, all these speakers, if they come forward, to come last. I just wanted to say, I'm going to ad lib a few points. I'll make it probably less than 3 minutes without point of informations. No matter how you disguise this, it's not written on 22-439, but basically we all know it's a Prop 2.5 override, never been done in this city. Winchester's done many of them, and debt exclusions. So if it's 12 million, why not go for 10 times that, 120 million? While we're at it, because it's never enough, is it? For the tax man or tax woman, the city. What's next? Is this a prelude for a $300 million bond for a new high school, which ain't so new in 52 years? Due to lack of maintenance amongst other buildings that were only 52 years old. Library, police, fire, DPW, that's a different story. You're financially killing the working class heroes, especially the fixed income retirees. Don't you care? Don't you care? You've talked about housing affordability in Medford many, many, many times. Even the Newies spoke of this, especially them who's paying rent or doesn't even own home property, doesn't have to pay real estate tax per se. Your $12 million Prop 2.5 override will cost us probably more like 10 to 12% more on the current bill starting this fiscal year, which has already started. And you are still refusing us, the homeowners, my baby, Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5C, the owner-occupied real estate tax exemption at the full 35% shift. We've lost over $2,000 a year on average per household. Since the Commonwealth of Massachusetts adopted this in 1998, mind you. That's 22 years or so. Imagine even the state politicians had some compassion to help the owner-occupied homeowners, and many cities have adopted this savings. Somerville, Everett, Malvern, Boston, even Senator Kerry gets it at 28 Lewisboro Square. If that's his legal address, he's not lying to the IRS again. And they're still doing it after years. Does that tell us it works? It does not work. I don't know, maybe my common sense is going south. I think it works just fine. They're still in the program. They didn't unadopt it, they adopted it and they're still using it. I've been asking you all for this real estate tax relief for 19 years. And be aware, this will not cost the city hall a dime, Mr. Orlando. Because the tax savings that the owner occupied would save is simply shifted to the absentee, maybe slumlords. So the city gets dime number one. A lot of people don't understand that. I read the law. I have a 6th grade education, but I read the law. Has everyone here read the law? Has anyone read the law? Thank you. Hold that thought, sir.
Mr. Castagnetti, if you.
So again, I ask you all again, why not here? Come on, man.
Thank you. We're having a meeting, as long as nothing else happens, on August 10th on
I
that.
don't understand your English. Pardon me, what,
We'll have a meeting on August 10th with the interim assessor to discuss that.
the new assessor?
Interim, so the old assessor.
Yeah, she couldn't even tell me how many absentee owners. What does she know?
Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Richard Orlando, 13 Winford Way. I'll try to be brief, very brief. We've obviously know the implications of this to the taxpayers. I hear about $500, $600. There's the issue of what it might cover in the next year or two, but then I hear it doesn't include the fire station. It doesn't include the roads. It doesn't include the high school. So this is just really the tip of the iceberg. And what I see this as is more of a digging a hole and going deeper and deeper versus figuring out how to grow the community and the development. I've been involved with many of the studies for development, and they're still doing master planning. We're spending more money with the current study going on. A very competent consultant, but there's nothing new coming up. We knew the answer to the development, whether it be the square, Mystic Ave, years ago. The time to take a step forward is well past due. And that's what really needs to be done to generate the kind of revenue that's needed. The concern is just, you look at the mismanagement, I listed a number of things onto the respect for the citizens' dollars. There's been a flurry of hiring activity in the mayor's office for positions that I'm not even sure that we need. We have a disturbing situation that I'm hearing. There are over 40 legal actions against the city, many due to HR related. Where is that money going to come from if the city loses out on that? We operated without a chief financial officer for 6 months, and we just got a new gentleman in there. Why did that happen? We lost a good person that had the ability and was willing to do the job. And due to some mismanagement by the administration, we lost that person. And I can go on and on. I don't think our money is being used wisely. I don't think the right people are being brought in to help and do and surround the administration with the kinds of skills they need for whatever reason. And I think, again, the solution is growth and development in the city, and we have the ability to do that. And might it be a bit of a lag catching up? Yes, but that's what's going to be needed. Because surrounding communities, as Councilor Caraviallo says, they're not experiencing this. Why? Because they didn't sit down during COVID. And I'm getting very tired of that excuse as well. Thank you.
Former Councilor Marks, I'm happy to extend you some additional time, but if you could.
I would just ask if one of my colleagues would be kind enough to suspend the rules to allow residents that took time out of their busy schedule in the middle of the summer, waiting for 2 hours, that we would allot them a little more than 2 minutes. So if we could suspend the
I've
rules.
I've let folks speak to the end already. If our rules say 5 minutes, I'm happy to keep it at 5 minutes.
Thank you, and I appreciate that, Madam President. Michael Marks, for the record, 37 Wellington Road. It's been 7 months since I've appeared before this body and in City Hall. And the reason why I'm here tonight is because of the
petition that is before us, which I believe strongly will hurt many, many people in this community. And that's the reason why I'm here. You know, we've had discussions before this body for many years. And some of the councilors brought up tonight about the process. And I can recall being part of subcommittees that have met 15 to 20 times to discuss snow shoveling ordinances or leaf blower ordinances. And here we have an issue of a Prop 2.5 override that's going to cost the average taxpayer an additional $600 from the increase we just received in June on our taxes. And have we had one subcommittee or committee of the whole to discuss this particular petition? Have we had one?
No, you know the answer is no.
So we haven't had one.
No.
So, you know, when it gets brought up about process, I would agree that there has been no process. And that is a major, major concern for me and many other people in this community. I appreciate the dialogue. I know there's people on both sides, and I appreciate the dialogue. And I can see both sides. But I think many of the comments that have been made tonight, which I will reiterate some of them because my colleagues have already put out great comments, is the first is how much should a realistic budget be for the complete operations in the city of Medford? Can anyone behind this reel that's in favor of this 12 million state tonight, what is a realistic operational budget? Because if you're running a business, you know what your realistic operational budget is to run a business. So what is it? Can anyone behind the reel tell me what the realistic operational budget for this city? It's a tough question. Believe me, I know it is. So we haven't answered that question. What is a realistic budget? Is 12 million on top of this budget realistic? Is this going to be, is this going to bring us to where we need to be, the promised land? I don't believe so. The second point is, can anyone behind this reel refer to any budgetary study that outlines the complete financial needs of this community? Can anyone tell us of a budgetary study? And I'm asking this as a question, not to be facetious. I'm asking, I'd like to know, because in my 20 years on the council, I can tell you firsthand, I was never part of any budgetary discussion regarding the operational needs of this community. So I'd like to hear it from the council, because I think that's an important question.
Vice President Bears.
We passed a resolution to that effect in June. And, you know, I've been saying we need one in the 2 years we served on the council. So I agree with you that that's a question that we need to answer.
Right. And I think that's an important question that needs to be answered before we put the cart before the horse. Right? And these are the things I think needed to be vetted out before we say, well, let's just let the voters decide. I think as the leaders in this community, we all look up to you as leaders. These are the questions I think that need to be answered before we take the next step. When is the last time a complete and independent audit has been done of all city functions? The reason why I ask is because when I was a member of the council, this council has always been on record asking for an independent audit. And we used to always state that an independent audit is not done by the same firm that's been hired by the administration for the past 30 years. That is not an independent audit. And I think members behind this reel could probably appreciate that. So I think truly, if we're going to move in a direction, and I'm not opposed to having these discussions. I think this is healthy, to be quite honest with you. Put it on the table, discuss it. But I think this information has to be on the table. Have we had an independent audit? The answer is no. The answer is no. So when we look at, are there ways we can cut costs? Are there ways that we can work more efficiently? There absolutely is. Are there things that we're doing that may be duplicate in nature? Absolutely. And Councilor Knight brought up one in particular about duplicate positions. So there's a lot of that that hasn't been looked at. You know, when we say, let's look at the charter, everyone's on board. And I was the first person to offer having the charter be reviewed. I offered it about 7 or 8 years ago before this council. And it was sent to the state legislature and it died. But everyone wants to review the charter because it's the operational framework, how this city works. And it makes sense. You wouldn't run a business and not change your business plan for 30 years. You'd be out of business. This city's no different. Now we're running on a budget, like Councilor Knight said, that hasn't changed in 30 years. Yes, it increases every year, but the physical budget itself hasn't changed in 30 years. And throwing more money into the budget is not going to solve any problems at all. It's not going to solve anything at all. The following 3 questions need to be answered in order to support this proposal. The first one, and I think we got somewhat of an answer, is what will the average increase be? And I think we heard tonight, we're looking at roughly $550,000 based on an assessed value of $650. So that could be $700 or $800, depending on your assessed value. Coupled with the increase we just received when the council and the mayor voted for the budget. So the 550 is one portion of an increase. The other portion you just approved. So when we look at the numbers, I think we have to put it in perspective. It's not 550. For many of us, it's well over $1,000 that the increase may be. Well over $1,000.
Mr. Castagnetti, you had your moment to speak. Can you please?
Right. Well, I think he said I was smart, so he can yell out anytime he wants. I think that's what he said.
And Councilor Marks, I do, to your point, want to make sure we do hear from residents that are here to speak, so just.
No, I appreciate that, but this is a very important issue for a lot of people. I'm coming up here on behalf of the residents that reached out to me, to be quite honest with you. That's why you haven't seen me in 7 months. This is a huge issue, and I would appreciate maybe if we could suspend the rules, because I don't feel like I've had 5 minutes and I feel rushed already.
It's not, you've had 7 minutes.
I've had 7 minutes, so I'm already over. Will someone suspend the rules to allow residents to speak before the podium?
We're allowing residents to speak.
Right, but not fully, not fully. I think we were all, listening to many speeches tonight, and we'd like to be able to speak. It's important. There's a dozen people. There's a dozen people in the audience.
Absolutely, I'm letting you speak. I'm just encouraging, if you want to hear from residents.
Madam President, if
Residents.
I may offer a compromise, why don't we allow everyone to speak once and use their allotted time, and then they can come back up and speak a second time. We're not going to limit them to once. Keep them within their 5-minute framework. Let them speak. If there are other people in line that want to come up and speak, let them, and then we can just
Keep
go right through
talking
again.
until we're
Yeah,
done.
just
No
keep
one's,
talking.
no one's,
Yeah,
Okay, well, I appreciate it. I'd like to finish. I only have a few more minutes left. I really would appreciate finishing. So as we were mentioning, the 550 is not a realistic number for most residents in this community. So that's question number one. What actually will this cost the residents of this community? There was a comment made tonight. Each year, we're doing more with less. That comment can't be furthest from the truth. As a taxpayer for 30 years in this community, 30 years, this is my 30th year, taxes have gone up each and every year for 30 years. So I don't know how we're doing more with less. The city is getting more money each and every year from the taxpayers of this community. It may be not spent wisely, but they're getting more money each and every year from the taxpayers of this community.
Madam President, point of information. I just want to put it out there. I understand that in nominal terms that's true. If you adjust for inflation, 2.5% per year has been below the rate of inflation. So in real terms, the city's actually spending about the same or less than it was spending in 1980 in inflation-adjusted dollars. That's what I meant by that statement.
Well, as Council Knight said, I think it's a spending issue, so I think that's what I'm trying to address. The other question is, what impact will this have, this tax increase on our most vulnerable residents? And I think that's the key, and that's actually why I'm up here tonight. So when we talk about seniors on fixed incomes, which my colleagues mentioned, we don't want to address that, but truly people are making decisions whether they eat or take medication. And maybe members behind this reel don't see that. You don't experience it, but it's happening in our community right now. I'll tell you firsthand, it's happening in this community. And we're asking residents to make that decision. So I just want people to be aware of that. What about the young families that paid top dollar for their home and bought in this community recently and have to decide whether their child will play sports, whether they'll go on vacation, whether they'll save for their college tuition? These are the decisions that have to be made. So it's easy to say, hey, look what 12 million will do for us. But what's the collateral damage to that 12 million? It's the seniors on fixed income. It's the families. It's the renters that Councilor Carviallo has mentioned in the past. Many landlords are going to pass this on to the renters. And that's what's going to happen. And as Councilor Carviallo mentioned, what about the seniors in this community that bought their home 25, 30, 40 years ago in a property rich, like Councilor Carviallo says, and income poor? $500, I would submit to you, is a lot of money. Is a lot of money for people on fixed incomes. So I think, when you talk about a cavalierly saying that, well, it's only 500, it's only 550, and, I think you got to be mindful of who is living in this community. And my last point, and I appreciate the time, believe me, and I don't want to take up any more time. We're in a time of uncertainty. We're talking about inflation. We're talking about recession. And here we want to raise additional taxes on top of taxes we just raised. How blindsided is that? I mean, you have to be living under a rock to say, now is a good time to increase taxes again, a second time. So I think this is what you're hearing from the community, at least what I'm hearing from the community. Maybe the council is tone deaf, certain members of the council, but this is what I'm hearing. Yeah, we all have a wish list. Streets should be done and so forth, and more teachers. We all have a wish list, but we have to work within the confines of our budget. And when we start pricing people out of this community, it's not a community I want to be part of. I thank you very much for your time. I thank you for your consideration. And I would only ask, when you make your vote, make sure that those three subjects regarding the impact of people, regarding the cost, regarding how it's going to affect each and every resident becomes part of your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, Betsy Lister, 12 Ross Street. Been a member of this community for over 40 years. I am thinking about leaving Medford because it's not a place people want to live. We're being priced out. If you look around, a lot of the people here are over 65 and, like myself, living on Social Security. $20,000 a year is not a lot of money. With double-digit inflation, 100% gas increase, 20 to 40% food increase. And I agree with Michael Marks. Oh, first of all, I wanted to acknowledge you and the councilors and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm sorry.
Of course. Oops, hang on. Your mic just went off. It'll come back on. Just give it one moment. Shane, just the mic. There you go. It's on.
Oh, okay, sorry. Lost what I was going to say. So it's very difficult to try and pay the bills. The The heating's gone up, the electrical, everything costs more. You hit us with one tax increase and now possible another, and we're going to be priced out of the community. I also tried helping a person that I know very well to find an apartment here. And for a studio apartment, it started at $2,800 a month. Who can afford that? And yet I see we keep building tenements to have people come in, but people aren't going to be able to afford to live here. And I do want to thank Michael Marks for mentioning the point I was going to bring up. As a former business owner for over 30 years of an insurance agency that did very well in this city, I might add, I had a business plan and I worked it. And I also want to say something to the counselors, that you were going to work less, but you didn't take a pay cut. If I worked less, I would have taken a pay cut. But I worked 60 to 80 hours a week because I knew I had to. And I did okay. But all I hear is spending, 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 and there hasn't been an independent audit. And before you can spend, you need to know where the funds go or how they're being spent, where the money is being spent, if it's spent wisely. In the early 2000s, I was working with the Registry of Motor Vehicles for the motorcycle safety education and awareness. We decided to do an audit of the registry for our safety funds because we felt like nothing was done. We found, just in this one department, $189,000 that one year, which got released to us so that we could spend it to help save lives here in the Commonwealth. This is prudent. I don't see prudency here. There's no transparency. All we hear is we need money for this, we need money for that. The city is crumbling. You need to come together and find a way to take a look at the spending, have an independent audit on the committee that Councilor Scarpelli mentioned, because I think that would benefit the residents. And you have to remember, you represent us. You represent what we want for the city. And I appreciate all of your talking points. What we want for the city is an affordable place that we can live in and love in. And that's not Medford right this moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Madam President. Sharon Diesso, 130 Circuit Road in Mass Ave in Medford. I'm glad to be here tonight and miss the time that's been allotted to us. And I just want to share a couple of notes. Thank you, Michael Marks, for coming. No one can really kind of follow him with some comments. I just want to herald a couple of other fine speakers who are coming. I'm a political peon, but I will admit something I learned a few weeks ago. I had the very happy pleasure of being invited to share time with the former mayor of a big city, not too far from here. And we were talking about budgets, just talking about economics and how, people get older and things change and whatnot, and COVID effects, et cetera. And he was mentioning Medford. And he said he's heard that some people in towns have luck with almost catastrophic situations where override 2.5 will be coming. And I said, well, I don't really know if we're kind of there yet. He said the problem with cities who do get into that situation is they don't have the right people running their city, especially the budget. So I do appreciate some of the facts that Adam Knight came out with, and others too in consideration in Adam Carviello. I will say that we have things that need to be addressed in this city, but this is the furthest thing, or the furthest answer that I thought of myself after reading the agenda, being a political peon. For instance, when people need to be replaced, do you contribute in the hiring and the firing of that person? We'd like to know. And if somebody can't you just have meetings with people, even with the mayor, and say, why can't some of these salaries be lowered? In other words, if somebody were leaving or retiring at 85,000, why couldn't the new person come in at 79? Why aren't ideas like that shared? You don't think that you're really going to get poor people working? We have a host of colleges. We have people who major in finance at BU and Tufts, that the competition just trying to get in the door, they'd love a job like that. I really think you need to continue to strive to work with this administration on ideas like that. Also, some of the budgetary spending that might come up, we heard also that 5 years ago, we had grants from the state to repair the roads. Why haven't they been started? And we don't want to hear because they all can't be done. Start it. If the interior of my house needed to be painted, but I only had 2,000 instead of 4, I certainly wouldn't stop the project for 5 years. You need to blame yourselves partly too for not chasing after these projects. I'm sorry. I respect the time that you give, but we all have contributing ideas. Also, we'd like to know how many people, does anyone know what the rate is? How many people own 2-family and 3-family homes in this city? Do you know? Okay.
We get that information in the taxes, yeah.
So $550 to $600 a year for someone just like myself, who has oddly now during the last 8 to 10 years been thrown into renting the house by myself, sadly. What about the people who have invested in Medford? They own a single and they bought a 2-family and a 3-family. Their rate is going to be very, very expensive. So I look again to growth. Medford is becoming known by many people, former politicians too, and other towns, as a reactionary council, not an aggressive growth force. Thank you again for your time, and I look forward to hearing some growth ideas. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
Robert Penta, 0 Summit Road, Medford, Mass., former member of this August body. I'd like to read a line in the mayor's message today. She wrote, "Even if we all agree that these additional expenditures on city services are helpful, we need to understand the sacrifices we're asking taxpayers to make and the other pressures they are under." Sacrifices. Madam Chairperson, you're the perfect example for this, what I want to say. You recently got married, and when you got married, you
No.
fought.
I was
well,
married 6 years ago.
all right,
but
okay.
Go on.
Okay, when you came to Medford, you moved to Medford a few years ago. and
I've
you-
been in Medford almost 10 years. Go on.
Almost 10, okay. Well, I don't have that exact number.
All right, well,
Let's put it that
if you
way.
want to talk about my life,
Okay.
I'm happy to correct
But
you.
the best part of what you've got going for you right now is the fact that you just have a nice brand new baby, okay? And you're a brand new mother. And that's very important for what I want to say, because there's a cost factor that goes along with all of that. It's a mental factor and it's a financial factor. And I'm quite sure you realize what it costs now having a young child, what that entails on a daily basis. When we hear the fact right now that there are additional pressures that are going to be placed on individuals, whether it's a single family, because that's the only one we heard, it was a single family. We didn't hear about the 2-family, the 3-family, the condos, or the apartment dwellers. We didn't hear that. That information hasn't been brought forward. And it should have been brought forward if you're going to be thorough in this presentation. And when you want to talk about spending or control spending, you need to talk about it. So as Councilor Knight has alluded to, not thinking this be the right way to go, and I agree with that. You've never really had, as Councilor Marks alluded to, an outside independent order on every single department that would justify this council going into an administrative decision with the city administration to discuss, we need to now go into a Proposition 2.5 override. You folks are sitting here tonight with not one city administration here. I don't know if they were asked. I don't know if it was intentional for them not to be asked. But it would have made a big difference in trying to understand why we are at this stage at 12.5. 2.5 weeks ago, you folks voted at a budget meeting. At the beginning of the meeting, you voted 7-0 not to approve the budget, but after the mayor came in and a 1:45 in the morning, you voted 7-0 for the budget. So what was asked for and what was gotten all took place between 7 o'clock and 1:45 in the morning. Now, is that an exact budget science? I don't think so. Is that the right way to go? You have a proposition here tonight being proposed for $12 million. Where is the statistical information? Where are the reports? Where are the reports from the school department? Not one school committee person is here. Not one school administration person is here. The superintendent should be here if she thought she was going to be so lucky to get almost $6 million out of a $12 million proposal. And then we go on the city side. Where there? You have 7 unions in this community, but there only seems to be 2 that have been recognized here. And very conveniently, they don't mention the Veterans Affairs Office. The veterans in this community who paid through their lives for us to be here and give our commentary. To be exact, you need reports. And the only way you can have a good report is to make sure that you require it. Now, I think I heard Councilor, I don't know where he disappeared to. It's his resolution, you know. Council Bears, I believe, said, we've been asking for the last 7 months and this and that, and the mayor hasn't come around. Well, you know something? Who has the greatest power in this city to control the mayor? It's the Medford City Council. And what you also can do at any one given time, whatever that mayor, he or she wants, this council can vote against it until you guys and girls get what you want and what you ask for, because that's the way the game is played. I'll help you if you help me. But if you're not going to help me and you just go along and you vote for it, well, you're just as much to blame. Think about it. You've allowed these budgets to go forward. And if you knowingly knew this was going on and you did nothing about it, and if you started in January asking for these financial reports and you didn't get them, then you should have stopped anything that came from the mayor's office looking for approval until you got your reports. Your responsibility for the city is to run its financial management. And when you have intermittent and you don't have administrators in this building that can come forward to explain what $12.5 million will do, more than $550 on a single family home, you got the doubles. What about the commercial piece of people property? You haven't even discussed them. And in the following years, they keep going. After 2.5 automatically goes up each and every year. It's something to really think about, because this is not chump change. This isn't $1, $2, or $3 million that you probably could find if you went through that budget and you cut through it. This is $12 million. And who come up with the $12 million? 2 councilors. 2 councilors who don't even pay real estate tax. They don't understand the value.
No, I don't know. That's a personal attack. I said I would not tolerate personal attacks. Everyone pays taxes, regardless of their format. I'm not engaging in a debate. I said no personal attacks. Please continue.
I'm going to continue what I'm saying. If you understood, if you paid real estate tax, you would understand the impact that this would. But if you haven't got to that point in your life, well, then you should understand how it's going to affect you.
Shane, the mic is off.
I'll repeat myself.
Councilor Collins.
I will repeat myself.
Councilor Collins, if you'd like to invoke specific councilors, I'm happy to have them speak. Councilor Collins.
I just want to make a point of information and not to clarify only your point, Mr. Penta. I'm a renter, so when people talk about counselors foisting things off on renters, I'm not going to speak for all of them, but I just want to state again, as I have many times this turn, that I am one, and I pay taxes through my rent, as does every renter. Please continue.
No, you maybe missed my point. My point was this: not owning the real estate and having to pay those additional taxes, that gets itself disseminated down to you as a renter. So if you as a renter are going to pay the difference in the increase, But you're putting the burden back onto the who? And if she has a tax, she's paying an income, rental tax that she can afford right now, maybe a $200 or $300 a month increase, she won't be able to. And that's what we're talking about. People on fixed incomes, seniors on fixed incomes. And when you hear the story, when you watch it on television, every dollar counts. Is it going to be for my medicine, or is it going to be for where I'm living? Is it going to be to put gas in my car, or is it going to be for food? Is it going to be that I can't go out, I got to stay home? That's what we're dealing with right now. You're dealing with an economic impact in this country that's affecting everybody. And that $12 million will kill this city of Medford, because the city of Medford will never recover from something like that. If you vote for that, you're going to, if you vote for that $12 million, you're going to take away what Medford is all about. Councilor Knight was absolutely right. Sit down, have a discussion, go over the whole thing, and ask for an independent outside audit to address all these departments. That's what you need to do. You know, we're too good of a city. We are way too good of a city to let something like this happen. We've sat here for years with former councilors and myself, and we never experienced anything that was presented in the middle of the night. Oh, that's what July is. It's the heat of the night. It's hot out. It's almost 90 degrees. Where are the people? This hall should be full of people, and it's not, because as Councilor Knight alluded to, there was an issue way back 2 or 3 years ago on Mystic Avenue in the month of August when they had a public hearing. And all the people showed up and they got so scared as to what's going on, they canceled the meeting. And after they canceled the meeting, they took the vote. No way should this happen. Let me just leave you with this last thing. Your own Rule 19 on the Medford City Council states that the Medford City Council shall not approve of any bond or expenditure that does not have a written explanation of such expenditure at least 7 days prior to said vote. You got this 3 to 4 days prior to today. That's not 7 days. You cannot even vote on this tonight because your own rules say it. And your own rules also state the following. Any financial paper appearing on the council agenda for the first time shall be automatically laid on the table for 1 week when such action is requested by any one member. And I'm quite sure there is at least one member here willing to put that on the table unless they have another motion to go by. You know, I didn't mean to get into an argument with you, and I wasn't trying to be right. I was just trying to compliment you. I got my years mixed up. The fact of the matter is I look at individuals today and I say to myself, how do they afford $700,000-800,000 houses? How do they afford when they have 2 cars and they have kids running all over? Must be maxed out to the nth degree in debt. We never did that growing up. We worked for everything we got and we went as long as we went. This is huge, $12 million. This isn't $1 million or even 2 that maybe you can figure out how to massage your budget. It doesn't work that way. To be good counselors, dismiss this action right now, move yourself into a committee to meet with department heads, hire an outside independent auditor to come in. If you could spend, as Councilor Knight said, $300,000 for an outside law firm that should be doing exactly what this law firm in the city of Medford is paying for, there is something wrong. Thank you.
Name and address for the record, please, and then I'm gonna just go to folks on Zoom that have had their hand up, and I'll go back and forth. There's just folks on Zoom that have had their hand up for a while, so give it a second for the mic to come back on. I don't know, there we go. Name and address for the record, please. Okay, Shane, I don't know, the mic is going on and on. There, okay, it's on. Okay, don't touch anything, just don't touch anything. He'll do it in there, and it'll stay on. There you go.
It should stay on, just don't touch it.
Edward Lenahan, 64 Forest Street, Medford. I could sum this up with 2 words: government waste. And I say that in 2 examples. 3 weeks ago, the mayor was here. You guys had her on the ropes with 46 lawsuits. Why? That question was not asked the mayor. Why is there 46 lawsuits? Maybe $12 million is not going to cover 46 lawsuits. Okay? So it's got off the hook with there, but guess what? 46 people are not going to go away, and it's going to come out. Number 2, Mr. Beers, you talk about infrastructure. Let's talk about Mystic Avenue that was done 8 months ago. 8 months, it was dug up 6 different times, okay? Where was the clerk of courts in Councilor Mark's words? Why was it dug up after 8 months? Infrastructure, you want to talk about infrastructure, you do the job the first time the right way, not over and over again. I go on that road to coffee every single morning, not just 6 different spots that have been dug over because of poor drainage that wasn't done the first time. Right in front of the VFW, the manholes are rattling. So it's going to be dug up again. So you want to talk about infrastructure, do the job the first time, sir. And stop wasting taxpayers' money.
Just a point of
Thank you.
information on that.
Vice President Bears.
That actually wasn't taxpayer money. That was the Eversource project. And this council was having resolutions and meetings asking specifically for what you were asking for around that. We don't control the DPW. All we can do is try to hold them accountable, which this council and these councilors did with multiple resolutions and meetings. Thank you.
Well, excuse me, but in the words of the mayor, nothing can be done and someone's held accountable, and that's where it all begins.
I'm going to go to Dave McKenna on Zoom, and then we'll come right back. Mr. McKenna, name and address for the record, please.
Yes, David McKenna. I live at 2 Vine Street in Medford. I wanted to offer some comments in favor of this resolution. So I do support the resolution. I think that we need to invest more in our city. And I just wanted to give a couple examples of how I feel like this resolution would deliver value. We've heard a lot about the costs, and there will be costs, but it will also deliver a lot of value. One example is street trees. So I live on Vine Street in East Medford, and my whole neighborhood is full of tree stumps. Right on the south side of my house, there's been a tree stump for
Sorry,
2
Mr.
years.
McKenna. The chambers could be quiet so we can hear the gentleman speaking. Thank you. Go ahead. Continue.
I've been
Mr.
waiting
McKenna.
for 2 years for the city to replace the tree next to my house. And it's the south side of the house, it's the sunny side, and my electric bill has gone up because now to pay for my air conditioning, you know, the whole neighborhood would be cooler if we had more street trees. That's value that we could invest in our city and build up our city. Another example is road repairs. Every time I go to do errands and I drive on Riverside Avenue, my car gets damaged because it's the worst road I've ever driven on in my life. I can't believe Riverside Avenue has not been fixed up. It's in terrible shape. And so that would really deliver value to me personally and to everybody who drives on Riverside to do their shopping. I think that's an investment we could make. I want to talk about the money, $6 million for our schools that would allow them to expand after-school programming. Medford has a world-class after-school program for kids, but there's a long wait list. Not everybody is getting into this program, and so working parents, you know, don't have that service to take care of their kids. That's a burden, and that's a value that we could deliver if we pass this resolution. That would be a value for our citizens. And the last one I want to talk about is building maintenance. Everybody tonight has been talking about how we don't maintain buildings in Medford. Every time I'm on the Facebook politics page, I hear that we haven't been maintaining our buildings in Medford. That takes money. And so that would be another value that we could deliver to extend the life of, you know, our brand new library, police station, and, you know, the schools that are about 20 years old now. We could extend the life of those buildings with more revenue. Continuous revenue to do the maintenance that we know we need to be doing, but you know, we haven't made a decision to invest yet. So those are just 4 reasons where I support the resolution. I think it delivers a lot of value. There is a cost, but you know, I wish that people could also look at the value that's delivered here. So I encourage all the councilors to support the resolution, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Paul Garrity. I live at Cedar Road in Medford. Madam President, councilors, thank you. It's been a long evening. I've listened to many of the comments that are made, and I had reflected in my own notes. I've thrown them out the door, and I want to take a different tack. What I'm hearing is that we have a problem. In any good approach to dealing with a situation like that, you define the problem statement. I'm looking at, we have a short-term funding, trying to solve it with a long-term solution, permanent tax assessment. In reality, what I really think we have is a systemic funding issue, but we have no revenue plan to deal with it. So step one is that we need to come together and say, what is the problem? And if we do agree on the problem statement, we got a consensus point that we can begin the journey together to solve this mess. I would venture to say that every time I turn into the council, I hear the complaint. I don't have the data. I don't know what's going on. Why don't we have a process in place that collects data in the city so that the council, the administration, the public at large can see what's going on? To get data, you need to have a mechanism. I have gone through the city hall. The IT infrastructure is lacking. We need to have a serious investment. You want to know what to do with the ARPA funds? Build out your network, get your surveys, your clients, all of the necessary hardware in place. The other thing that's missing, and I've talked to the administration about this, they have a firm in that's working on the physical level. But spending 30 years in the industry, I believe it's not the right person for the whole package. They're functioning at the physical level. They're looking at security, but they're not looking at the most important thing that you people need. How do we collect the data? We need to invest in some kind of enterprise software resource planning tool so that you people can get the data to find out what's going on in each department, as Council Knight has pointed out, and start to say, what are we obligated to deliver? Is it properly sourced? Do we have the right people there? The correct number of people? Do we have the tools they need? Do they have the right space? You're never going to solve this problem until you have the appropriate data at hand. And it should be enterprise-wide. We shouldn't be having the school department does this, city does that. You need to come together with a central planning facility. It needs to be a tool. It needs to be proselytized because people come and go. Mayors come and go. Councils come and go. You need to have a permanent process that lives on so that as different administrations and different people come, you're not starting all over again from scratch. Once you've got the information in hand, then you need to say, let's set our goals. I will admit to you, Council Bear, you and I are at odds many times, but when you came forward and said you'd have goals, milestones, completion dates, and a revenue plan, I agree with you. You fell short on the revenue plan. Once you have the some kind of process in place we're going to go after, then you start to work at it. You say, if I set my priorities, how do I set my priorities? Well, I have this service delivery I have to get to, but what's the most effective and efficient way to deliver it? Effective means it's the right one. Efficient means I can pay for it. So that says to me, where's the revenue going to come from? I've spoken to many of you people around this table about a redevelopment authority. Till I'm blue in the face. There's millions of dollars on Mr. Gav. There's 3 million square feet. If I get $3 a square foot, I'm going to have $9 million in my pocket. Finally, once we get through all of that stuff, I'm always saying, well, this person's left. We lost all that knowledge. You can build a knowledge base of data that you can go back and refer to and work from. So until you start define your problem, agree upon that problem, we're going to be fighting here till the cows come home. Thank you.
Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Nate Marin, 373 Riverside Ave in Medford. I fully support fixing Riverside Ave because I'm the guy that lives on the street that has to drive up and down that terrible road every day. And I've been saying it for years. So on that point to the gentleman out in Zoomland, fully agree with you on that. I've been saying that one for years. And in fact, they've been digging that thing up, National Grid, the water, this, that. It's a disaster. It's been a disaster for years without a plan. We have a DPW that doesn't have a plan. I think there are some efficiencies we can pick up. Councilor Bears, I appreciate the situation you're in. It sucks. Let's just put it that way. Okay. Nobody wants to talk about tax increases ever. It's a crappy spot. Well, yeah, sure. Everyone loves slings and arrows. And I think the residents do appreciate, like I said, nobody wants to take anything in the shorts. Please know, people do appreciate the work you do. And we know that there's some hard decisions to be made. So thanks for letting us be heard. That said, I do have a list of things so I could try to be efficient. I live on Riverside Ave. There's been a crap ton of development on Riverside Ave and Locust Street and all around my side of the city. And I'm not going to get personal attacks. I am going to say that there are folks that live in one half the city where you would never be putting mega apartment complexes and doing a whole bunch of development. And they also have different schools their kids can get into. If you live on the wrong side of the city, now I got to try to get my kids into a lottery in order to go to the better schools. Arlington doesn't do that. Lexington doesn't do that. If we're trying to keep up with the Joneses, then let's keep up with the Joneses. Is that what's happening? Is that why we need a new school? Because Arlington built one? I don't live in Arlington because there's no way in heck I could afford it. No way. My house, you can say on paper, and I agree with you what the paper says, what Zillow says and this and that about my house. My house is a crap hole. Okay? I bought it for $340,000 because that's what I could afford before my wife and I were married, before I had a Rugrat. Right? Kids just make everything cheaper, don't they? All those tax credits you get, sure, no problem, right? I'm being facetious. Tell me I'm wrong.
I had my kid 3 days before the end of the year, so it wasn't that bad.
Just wait.
Go on.
Just wait.
Go on.
No, daycare, there's other things, right? I'm a young family. So you can sit there and tell me, great, my house is worth $500,000. There's a reason why I paid $340,000 for it. One, that's what the budget I could support. And my parents are gone. I don't have a well to go back to. I got to work more. My wife has to work more if we can. We're both salaried already, maxed out. Someone's got to actually watch the kid. I appreciate y'all being here. I want to go home to my kid too. In fact, I missed bedtime an hour ago. So I know you know how that
I
is,
missed
right?
it several hours ago.
So, but we have personal budgets. We have to stick to them because there's no more well to go to. We do that in our families, right? Responsible people. The city has a spending problem. The city's had a spending problem since I moved here in 2014. It was painfully obvious. And when I hear the council say, there's nothing I can do. Okay, dissolve the council. There's $210,000 saved in the budget right now. There's nothing you can do. Why are we here? That's just quick math. Sorry, I know it's a little fudgy. It might be more, it might be less, but 30,000 times 7 is 210, right? So sometimes there's two. All right. So that said, other things that we've done here. Let's see. We've already increased tax revenue on the residents with this thing called parking since I moved here. You didn't have to pay for parking. Who pays the most for parking? Do you think it's people from the outside? Are they really flocking to Medford Square to go pay for parking? Or is it your residents that are keeping your businesses alive and now they got to pay effectively an additional
The city
tax?
budget actually pays the most for parking because he went from not paying anything to now paying over $1 million a year.
Great, get rid of the
You're getting
parking
no
and save $1 million. Right? But who's footing that bill? It's your residents. This isn't Cambridge. This isn't Somerville. There is no Assembly Square to go to. If I want to go to a bar around here, where do I go? I go to Somerville. I'm spending my money somewhere else. Now I'm a parent and I have a budget and I can't afford to go to a bar. So I got to stay home. And that's a choice I got to make. That's a tough choice. I don't go out to eat. It's not that I'm poor.
We could reel it back to, I appreciate it, but just reel it back to the 2.5.
Right? But I mean, this is what we have to deal with. So, you know, we've got parking now that is a tax on your residents. We hired an outside consultant, Martha Coakley, during the Clipgate incident. Do we not remember that? Because we couldn't have Medford PD figure out why there was a magazine found in one of our schools. Really? We couldn't have Medford PD figure that out. We had to contract that out. This city has a spending problem. The DPW has a night watchman, last name of Pellegrini. He likes to yell at people that, you know, pull up in front of the recycle bin and don't sit there and park in parking spots that don't exist. I don't know whether the added value he's bringing, but when the DPW wants.
Again, just no personal attacks.
No, this is something I was going to bring up anyways, is as a complaint.
No names, no personal attacks. I don't care who we're talking about.
Fine. You have a person who functions only as a night watchman, according to his own admission. I don't know how much his salary is. It's 9 o'clock on a Friday or Saturday night. Nobody's coming in and out of that parking garage or the DPW garage. You couldn't contract that out to Securitas or some other function instead of paying that person's salary plus their retirement. I think there's things that we can do to look at the budgets and spend more efficiently. There's plenty, Tufts University. We've talked about this, Zach. There may be ways we can actually bring in some metrics and bring in some data analysis. I think it's time. It's been long overdue. What's the number of personnel in the city by department and how much has been, what is that number year over year? I don't expect you to have the answer. The problem is it's not published. Let's put it to the voters. Okay, well, the voters got to be educated. The voters need to be able to find the data and make educated decisions. And no offense, you're not going to take Zach Bears' word for it because you're only one person. And even you don't have all the data. Right? Trust me, trust me, I'm from the government. I'm here to help. No, you want to present the data and let people make educated decisions.
We are
There's no
trying.
possible way you could do that.
And
We are trying to
I
help.
don't think that that's a fair assessment. I think everybody behind this reel gives a lot of their time and a lot of their effort, right?
I don't
Come
think
and
you
try
can
to
give
make this
enough
city-
time to do it.
To make this city a better place, you know what I mean? So when you make that, I'm a politician, trust me. I mean, I just don't think that's fair characterization.
I think it is when you have someone saying, hey, let's put it to the voters and they don't have the information to make the educated decision.
Is he giving you any reason not to trust him?
It's not about trust. It's about, they don't have the information. It's trust but verify. I want to be able to verify. And I think that's fair. You would too.
Again, if we could come back, I know you have, we can come back and talk at public participation at the end of the meeting to talk about all your grievances with each one of us, but if we could just focus on
Yeah, I
2.5.
am. Well, we can suspend the rules.
Wait, the suspend the rules is
Or
something we
suspend
have
the
to
rules. I
vote on.
wanna be
It's
home
not
too.
something you just say and it happens.
Yeah, if I'm running over my time, then suspend the rules, please. So I think we need the data. I think we need it published. Did the city hire a person specifically to figure out how to use the COVID-19 funds?
Yes, and then they just fired them, so.
Okay, but the point is you still spent the money ahead of time for a person to figure out how to spend money. There's
they
waste
don't
that
tell you.
happens in this city. And to say there's
But
no
that-
waste and there's
that
nothing
came
to come.
That came from ARPA funding. That didn't come from the budget.
It doesn't
different-
matter. The
it's different
city-
sources. We're
It's a
trying to-
pattern of, it's not the bucket you draw from. And that's part of the spending problem is there's always been proposals. Oh, well, there's this match we're gonna get for the state. So we gotta do this project now. The library wasn't supposed to cost anything for the taxpayers.
Again, I'm asking you, please focus on the paper at hand.
I am.
Madam
We're
President?
I am.
Vice
It's a
President Bear.
pattern. You have a spending pattern. The
Madam
paper-
President, I'm
Councilor
going to
Carviallo.
invoke section 22 at this point, or section.
21 now.
21 now. Again, we're getting out of here. We're getting way up track of this.
All right.
And
Section-
postpone this till the next meeting.
Section 21 is, sorry, Rule
Rule
21.
21.
Okay, Rule 21, and you are looking at Rule 21 as far as finance papers. So any finance paper appearing on the council agenda for the first time shall be automatically laid on the table for 1 week when such action is requested by any member. That has been requested by Councilor Carviallo. You can table it to a date certain, which will be 1 week from today. The July
Choose it to the next
26th.
meeting.
Well, it's 1 week in the rule, so it's tabled for 1 week.
As it's written in the rules, it's tabling for 1 week, so that would be to July 26th.
So moved.
Just to clarify, did I just get cut off?
The motion, yeah. The
So
motion is to lay the paper on the table, which would effectively end debate.
motion to revert to the regular order of business?
You're welcome to speak at public participation when we revisit it, but the motion was just to lay the item on the table, which ends all debate. It ends our debate, it ends every debate.
It's not even a motion, it's just a rule and once invoked.
Rule. That was
Right,
invoked.
but it's a reference to chapter 43, section 22 of the general laws, which says that if any member of the council objects, the measure shall be postponed for that meeting. So it's postponed for this meeting.
Till the next meeting.
Yeah. Well, the rule says a week.
Undebatable.
Motion to revert to the regular order of business.
You're welcome to speak at public participation at the end of the meeting, but the item has been tabled. There's no more debate on this item per the rule.
And if I do want to finish my points, I have to come back next week.
No, just at the end of the meeting. Just at the public participation section.
Motion to revert to the regular order of business.
Okay,
Okay, so I'm cut off for the night. That's right, Councilor Knight?
yes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Motion to revert to the regular order of business.
On the motion of Vice President Barris to revert to the regular order of business, seconded by Counselor Knight. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Council Carviallo.
Yes.
Council Collins.
Yes.
Council Knight. Yes. Council Scarpelli. Council Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes, 7 affirmative, 0 in the negative. The motion passes. Reverting to the regular order of business. Records, the records of the meeting of June 28, 2022 were passed.
Move approval.
On the motion of Counselor Knight to move approval of the records,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Collins. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Hang on.
Yeah.
All right, for the records. Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Council Carviallo.
He's absent.
Council Collins.
Yes.
Council Knight.
Yes.
Council Scarpelli. Yes. Council Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes. 6 in the affirmative, 1 absent, 0 in the negative. Motion passes. Reports of committees, 22-354.
Move approval.
Motion to join the two papers and move approval.
On the motion of Vice President Barris to join 22-3, they're both have the same number from June 28th, June 28th and June 29th. On the motion to join and move approval, seconded by Counselor Knight. Mr. Clerk, please call. Okay, they're not the same report.
One was budget and one was.
Okay, they're erroneously given the same number. One was budget and one was the Eversource project.
Oh,
Still move approval.
that's fine.
All right. Motion continues. Seconded by Counselor Knight. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Council Carviallo. Council Collins.
Yes.
Council Knight.
Yes.
Council Scarpelli.
Yes.
Council Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes. 6 in the affirmative, 1 absent, 0 negative. The motion passes. We do have a motion, the next resolution is from Counselor Carviallo, so I'm going to skip that at the moment. We're going to go to 22-414, offered by Vice President Bears.
I believe there's a companion paper that's the same, Madam President, 22435.
Okay, and 22435, offered by Counselor Carviallo. Be it so resolved that the Medford City Council send its deepest condolences to the friends and family of Oscar Green on his passing. Oscar was a longtime Medford resident, World War II veteran, author, and member of the Grace Church community. And a identical paper was also submitted by Counselor Carviallo. Vice President Bears.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Green was a centenarian, longtime resident, World War II veteran, author, and most importantly, a member of the Grace Church community, at least most importantly to all of the residents who reached out to me in sadness at his passing. I know it's now a late hour. There may have been some residents on earlier who had hoped to speak to this, but whereas it was on the June 28th agenda and now is on this agenda, I would ask that we move to approve and send a note of condolence, perhaps to the Grace Church community. And I know Councilor Carviallo had placed this on the agenda as well, so I will defer to him.
I just, Councilor Carviallo's abstention, I just like to mention that he was also a great member of this Medford community, not just the Grace Church community.
Yes.
And served that country well.
Thank you, Counselor Knight. Any further discussion?
Move approval.
On the motion of Counselor Knight, seconded by Vice President Bears. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Could it be a motion to join and approve?
Oh, sorry, the motion to join and approve. Does that motion work for you, Counselor Knight? Counselor Knight, motion Counselor Knight, second by Vice President Bears. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Council Carviallo, absent. Council Collins.
Yes.
Council Knight.
Yes.
Council Scarpelli.
Yes.
Council Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes. 6 in the affirmative, 1 absent, 0 in the negative. The motion passes. The second, the next item, 22-433 is offered by myself. Counselor Carviallo also again has a similar paper.
Motion to join.
On the motion of Counselor Knight to join. Seconded by Counselor Collins. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
433 with what paper?
Join 22-433 with 22-434. Sure, I think they're moving.
All right, to join. Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Counselor Carviallo. Still absent. Counselor Collins.
Yes.
Counselor Knight.
Yes.
Counselor Scarpelli. Counselor Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes, 6 in the affirmative, 1 absent, motion passes. 22-433 and 22-434. So be it so resolved that the Medford City Council extend a happy birthday and congratulations to Gwendolyn B. Lee on the momentous occasion of her 100th birthday. Gwendolyn is an active and outstanding member of the West Medford Senior Club. So our good friend Henry Millerin brought this to our attention of Gwendolyn's momentous birthday occasion. So we just want to extend a happy birthday and hope that we can extend a note, have a document from the council that we can have delivered to her, that I can deliver to Henry to deliver to her at the West Medford Senior Club. I know Henry would have liked to speak, but as sometimes we drive people out of the chambers because we keep going so late. So I'm sure
Move approval.
on the, anyone else, any discussion on the motion of Counselor Knight as seconded by Vice President Bears. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Counselor Carviallo is absent. Counselor Collins.
Yes.
Counselor Knight.
Yes.
Counselor Scarpelli.
Yes.
Counselor Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes, 6 in the affirmative, 1 absent, 0 negative, motion passes. Councilor Carviallo, we just combined a few of your papers with. Two I'm sorry? Yes, so Councilor Carviallo will be absent for the remainder of the meeting. 22-412, city, notice of a public hearing. The Medford City Council will hold a public hearing in the Howard F. Alden Chambers at Medford City Hall, 85 George P. Hassett Drive, Medford, and via Zoom on Tuesday, July 19th at 7 p.m. A link to be posted no later than Friday, July 15th, 2022, on a petition from Starbucks Coffee, Daniel Brennan, permanent agent, 177 College Ave, AKA 161 College Ave, Medford, Mass. 02155, for a special permit to amend its hours of operation in accordance with Medford zoning ordinance chapter 94-7.2.1 to operate extended hours at its business at 177 College Ave, AKA 161 College Ave, Medford, Mass. 02155. Said site being located in a mixed-use zoning district as follows. Extended hours of operation requested 5 a.m. to 7 a.m., Sundays through Saturdays. Petition and plans may be seen in the office of the city clerk, room 103, Medford City Hall, Medford, Mass. Call 781-393-2425 for any accommodations/aids. TDD 781-393-2516. The city of Medford is an EEO AA 504 employer. By order of the city council, signed Adam L. Hervey, city clerk, advertised in the Medford Transcript and Somerville Journal, June 30th and July 7th. I do believe if Mr. Brennan is still with us, I did see him on the call. Okay, I see it. Mr. Brennan, if you could just give us a brief overview of what we have before us.
Sure. My name's Dan Brennan, handle permits and licenses for Starbucks. We have a store that just opened 2 months ago over at Tufts. City ordinance doesn't allow us to open before 7 a.m. and we're requesting relief from the council to open up at 5 a.m. to serve coffee.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan. Are there any questions from the council? Councilor Knight.
Madam President, why don't we open it up to anybody that's in favor or against before,
All right, as this is a public hearing, we will be opening up for public comment. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the petition before us? They're on Zoom or in person. Mr. Brennan, assuming you are in favor of the petition?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the petition? Seeing none, this portion of the public hearing is closed. Is there anyone else who would like to?
Madam President, actually, I'd like to keep,
Continue. Okay. So is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition of the petition in front of us? Either in person or on Zoom?
Madam President, ask we keep the public hearing open for 90 days.
You need to, I'm sorry.
Not to close the public hearing, to keep it open
Okay.
for 90 days.
Okay. Would that be with approval and to keep it open for 90 days, or you want to revisit this?
No,
Okay.
not with approval.
Okay.
Starbucks right now is in the middle of quite a public dispute over the conditions that they place their workers in. Allowing a 5 o'clock opening right now in the middle of a contract negotiation. I don't think it's the way to go. There's a strike going on at Starbucks right now for the Starbucks baristas relative to wages, hours, and conditions of employment. I think that's something that needs to be remedied. I support the working people. And I think that this corporate giant should go to the table, sit down with them. They're not broke.
Thank you. And do you want to register that as opposition to the position or?
No,
Okay,
no,
so
I
let me
just want to keep
close
the
that.
public hearing
All
open
right.
for 90 days to be sure that our
Okay, so
friends
we're
at
gonna
the
leave it. Okay.
United Commercial Workers can come down and express their concern about this when the time is right.
Okay, thank you. Vice President Bears?
I was just going to second the motion.
On the motion of Counselor Knight to keep the public hearing open for 90 days as seconded by Vice President Bears. Any further discussion from the council? Seeing none from the public. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call to keep the public hearing open for 90 days.
Correct.
Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Counselor Carviallo is absent. Counselor Collins.
Yes.
Counselor Knight.
Yes.
Counselor Scarpelli. Yes. Counselor Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes. 6 in the affirmative, 1 absent, 0 in the negative. The motion passes. 22-415 petition.
You can forward 3 there too.
Did I miss? I'm sorry. Did I miss 413? I'm sorry.
413 is Rich.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. 413 at the beginning of the meeting. Sorry. I'm sorry. Torture you guys. Okay, I'm sorry. We're almost there. 22-432, City Clerk's Office notice of a public hearing. The Medford City Council will hold a public hearing on July 19th, 2022 at 7 PM in the Howard F. Alden Chambers at Medford City Hall, 85 George P. Hassett Drive, Medford, Mass. 02155. A Zoom link will be posted not later than July 15, 2022 to consider orders of taking for Freedom Way and Steve Miller Drive in the city of Medford. The City Council will consider whether to accept Freedom Way and Steve Miller Drive as a public way in the city, as public ways in the city of Medford and as recommended by the Department of Public Works and the Community Development Board. A copy of the order is available for inspection in both the office of the city clerk, room 103, and the office of the city engineer, room 300 in Medford City Hall, 85 George P. Hassett Drive, Medford, Mass. 02155. I don't believe, I'm not sure if we have anyone from the administration here.
Owen
Oh,
was
I do see
here.
Owen. All right, calm down. Okay, I do see Mr. Wartella is here.
Hi. How's it going?
Oh, and if you could just give us a overview of what we're looking at.
I will keep this very, very brief. I know you guys are here really late. So the purpose of this order of taking is to change the ownership of 2 roadway parcels from the school to the city so that appropriate funds can be used for their future repair. Currently, there is no timeline for these repairs and there are no betterments to the city with this transfer. This is just a formal transfer of ownership. And I'm here to answer any questions about this order of taking. Thank you.
So would taking these roadways from the school department as private property and then making them public ways allow us to utilize Chapter 90 funds to repair them?
Oh, sorry, you got muted again.
Yes, sorry. Yes, exactly. That is the intent.
Move approval.
Any further discussion from the council? Not amongst each other.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion from the council? On the motion of Counselor Knight, seconded by Counselor Collins. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll. Oh, sorry, this is a public hearing. I apologize. Sorry. As this is a public hearing, we do open up to public comment. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the petition before us? Obviously, Mr. Wartell, I mean, the city, we do have in front of us that both the city and the Community Development Board is in favor. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Seeing none, this portion of the public hearing is closed. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition of this petition? Seeing none, this portion of the public hearing is closed. So Councilor Knight, would you want to approve and waive the comment period, or would you like to keep the comment period?
Let's keep the comment period open in case there's any question about whether or not we need to have input from the traffic commission on such a measure. I don't think we do, but let's keep it open just in case friends at the traffic commission have some input they'd like to make.
Okay, so on the motion of Councilor Knight to approve at the close of the 6-day public comment period, seconded by Councilor Collins, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Council Carviallo is absent. Council Collins.
Yes.
Council Knight.
Yes.
Council Scarpelli. Council Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes, 6 in the affirmative, 1 absent, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. Going back just to paper 22-413 briefly, which is Councilor Carviallo's, do I have a motion to table that as he is no longer in attendance? On the motion of Councilor Collins, to table 22-413 as seconded by,
Why don't we just table all of Council Carviallo's?
okay, on the
Everything that
motion,
Council Carviallo sponsored because he's unavailable.
okay. Councilor Collins, would you make that motion to table all of Councilor Carviallo's papers? So on the motion of Councilor Collins to table all of Councilor Carviallo's papers, seconded by Councilor Scarpelli. Mr. Clerk,
Sorry.
please call the roll.
So that's 416, 421, anything that says work. That's it.
Yeah, it's 413, 416, and 421.
Okay, Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Council Carviallo is absent. Council Collins.
Yes.
Council Knight. Council Scarpelli. Yes. Council Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes, 6 in the affirmative, 1 absent, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. 22-415, petition to reverse sign denial by Michael R. Dolan and Trent Sudeth for Volta, 760 Fellsway, Medford, Mass. Reason for denial, illumination and movement is not permitted. We do have folks with Volta in front of us. If you'd like to just speak to the signs that are.
Sure, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Dolan from the law firm of Brown Rudnick here on behalf of Volta Charging. I just want to give a little background about who Volta is. Volta was founded in 2010 and has been an innovator in developing cutting-edge electric vehicle charging networks. Their chargers are the most frequently and heavily used in the charging industry, and there are thousands of their stations across the country, including many here in the Commonwealth. The Volta charging experience is a unique concept because unlike other electric vehicle charging station companies, Volta does not charge fees or costs to customers for the electricity, but rather gives it away to encourage the use of electric vehicles. As the electricity that Volta gives away, though, must ultimately be paid for, Volta sells advertising space to brand name advertisers on charging station related media screens to generate the revenue needed to pay for the electricity. Examples of advertisers are Haagen-Dazs, Netflix, FedEx, Hulu, big national brands like that. Volta's charging station model is destination charging, with its stations typically situated near outlets, malls, large retailers, and grocery stores. Here, we are proposing at 760 Fellsway at the Stop and Shop, 2 level 2 charging stations. Each charging station would include a 2-sided digital advertising display screen, which is designed to target pedestrians going in and out of the Stop and Shop, not vehicles. The display screens are internally lit and the ads on the screens are stationary and softly transition every 8 seconds. There's no flashing, no intermittent lights, no video, no sound or noise emitted from the stations. As I think you can see from the photos included with our application, the charging stations have crisp lines, they're attractive and made of the finest quality in the charging industry. They were designed in Austria and they're highly sought after not only by EV charging users for the free component, but by businesses and communities alike because of their attractive appearance. Stop and Shop customers have asked them to install free charging at their stores, including here in Medford. And after a thorough review of alternative charging station options, Stop and Shop selected Volta due to the aesthetics and the excellent user experience from their stations. The proposed stations will be installed in 2 of the existing islands in the parking lot near the entrance to the store, and adjacent to each charging station will be 1 marked and designated EV charging parking space. This subject property, I'm sure you're familiar with it, is located in a high-intensity Commercial 1 zoning district, and the proposed units will be set back over 470 feet from the public right-of-way. In short, these stations will have no visual impact on surrounding properties or any public roads. We're here tonight pursuant to an appeal under section 6.2.64 of the Medford zoning ordinance. That's the new ordinance, based on a denial of our sign design review application. Specifically, Inspector Moki, who I'd spoken to, referred our proposal to the City Council for its consideration in connection with 2 sections that he thought we should just run by you guys. One related to continuous illumination and the other relating to movement. As to the requirement under the ordinance that signs have continuous illumination, the thought there is they don't want signs that would be flashing or intermittent light and the like. And as I alluded to earlier, our stations do in fact involve continuous illumination. It should also be noted that the screens are automatically dimmed depending upon the time of day, and they can shut down when the Stop and Stop is closed overnight. With respect to the provision of the zoning ordinance regarding movement and signs, as mentioned, Volta's displays are static images, and there's no video, motion, or movement other than the transition every 8 seconds between advertisements. One last point that I'd like to make is that Volta is amenable to including on the screens Medford public service announcements for free. Volta has successfully partnered with other cities and towns in this regard, and the benefits to municipalities has been very well received, including during the recent pandemic. And I heard about the wonderful event that the police department was mentioning tonight. There's an example of something that could go up on those screens, but we'd be glad to work with the city on that. So in closing, and I'm trying to get through this quickly, I know it's late for all of you. We believe that Volta's charging stations with these display screens are consistent with the city's zoning ordinance, and we hope that you'll approve their new cutting-edge technology, which will bring free EV charging to the residents of Medford. With that, I just want to quickly introduce Mike Dennehy, who is a general manager at Volta Charging, just to say a few words and introduce himself.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Madam President, members of the City Council. Let me just go back and thank you. I know it's late. 4 months.
Thank you for bearing with us.
Yes, no.
You've been sitting here the whole
4
time.
months ago, I was the town administrator in Milton. I did that for 5 years. Prior to that, I was the Public Works Commissioner for Labor Secretary Marty Walsh. So I get the service that is being displayed here this evening. I feel your pain, right? I missed town meeting this year in May, thankfully, touch wood. But no, I want to thank you all for this. I took a liking to EV charging. We were able to site permit and construct 2 in Milton. I really fell in love with the industry. 27 years of government doing what you folks are doing every night. This is a great model. Volta is in 26 states. There's over 2,500 stations. We have great site partners and great relationships. We've delivered over 124 million free miles of electrons to people. And I'm here to answer any questions, but thank you for hearing us again this evening. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Councilor Scarpelli.
Thank you, Madam President. So, gentlemen, thank you for being here so late, and we appreciate it. I can honestly say 10 years ago, one of my first initiatives was making sure Medford brought charging stations to our community, and people said, "You're crazy." So this is nice. I can now retire. So if you guys are looking for another consultant, just call me. I'll, but what we're doing is, what you're doing is great. I think that, the biggest concerns we had when neighbors heard, we've had some serious issues in that plaza that, one was a dumpster that was taking in free clothing that turned out to be a disgrace. But what we saw, what I saw, and, you know, doing my research, it's so far away. I think it's exactly what we're asking for. I like the concept. I think that probably the only thing that I'd ask, and I'm sure you have the answer, that any of the materials that are going to be advertised are tasteful and are in good nature with our family atmosphere. I think that's the biggest question I had. Other than that, I love the idea that you're giving back to the community. You know, anywhere we can spread the word, something simple as an election coming up here in September, and adding something like that is very important. So anywhere we can add that, where it's not an eyesore, where, you know, people love to put those signs in the middle of islands. I think this is a tasteful and respectful way to kill two birds with one stone. So I think it's a great idea. I would support this and move approval.
Thank you, Councilor Scarpelli. Vice President Bears and Councilor Collins.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilor Scarpelli said almost everything I said. I noted here, it says that the ads will not be containing drugs, alcohol, sex, or political ads. First three is great. I don't know about the last one, but but that's great. We have a letter here from our Energy and Environment Committee, which noted it's static images that change every 8 seconds, designed to be viewed by pedestrians, not visible from windows of private residences, and not on public ways. So that all seems to check out. My only question is just, you mentioned on the PSAs, putting, you know, city PSAs up. Are you in communication with the mayor's office about that already? Is it something?
That's something that with an approval, we'd be right in touch with them right away.
Great, fantastic.
We have a team that does that, so.
Great. I would second Councilor Scarpelli's motion to approve and just say, not a condition or amendment or anything, just, you know, encourage that to happen as quickly as possible so that once the stations are up, we can work with you on getting public information out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Machines, right? We were moving variable message boards around Milton because we couldn't get our messages on. So
Appreciate it. Thank you. Request for donations?
Councilor Collins.
All of my points have been made. Thank you.
Councilor Knight.
I'm the other guy. I'm that guy.
This is a public-private partnership. This is what you love.
I know, but we don't live in Las Vegas, you know, 55-inch LCD screens.
Legal, labor person in front of me. So, you know, Marty.
What happened?
You gotta love
What happened?
Just shut off the microphone.
And my uncle was the quartermaster at the Milton VFW for a number of years, so I know what you're dealing with out there as well. So these are gonna be 55-inch screens,
Yes, sir.
and there's only gonna be 2 of them.
There's 2 stations and there's a screen on each side.
Okay,
That's
so
right.
we're looking at 220 inches, square inches of illuminated sign.
Yeah,
Okay, in 2 locations.
yes, the
Okay.
2 different
All
charges,
right,
yes, and 2
designed-
different islands,
Okay,
that's correct.
designed for pedestrians to look at when they're crossing the street, right?
Correct.
That
They
was-
don't have to if they don't want.
Are there crosswalks in the locations where the, on or about the areas where the signs are gonna be located?
Definitely should be. Yeah. Yeah. Are there crosswalks here marked, delineated crosswalks already? I don't see it on
I
the
don't
plans,
see it.
Counselor, but I will certainly follow up. They do, right? We're at the,
There are speed bumps and everything over there. I know what you're talking about. With the
Yeah.
placement, I'd like to see the placement be placed where a crosswalk is, right? So that at the very least, the stop sign crosswalk, so, I mean, someone's gonna look at it, distracted driving, something we talk about all the time, right? If you guys have driven in this parking lot, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd want the bulldozer, not the truck, right? I mean, it's crazy in there. There's a lot of cars, a lot of vehicles, a lot of heavy trucking going on. I'm not so worried about the internal illumination because, I mean, who's your neighbor? I'm afraid, you know what I mean? I don't think that they're gonna really mind too much if they see that.
Okay.
In terms of moving forward, we have 2 now. Is there plans for expansion or is it just gonna be 2?
There are not, and of course, anything we would ever want to do, we have to come before you
Right.
again. And if you said, you know what, that's too many, or I don't like where that one's going, we live with however you want us
Yeah,
to do
but
it.
you work at Brown Rudnick and you guys are slick talking lawyers. We approve it once. Next thing you know, you come in and, oh, you approved it last time. Now you're out. You can't do that now. What are your
And
reasons?
Council, that's a great point, but to the business model, those impressions, you're not going to get the same impression if you have so many screens in the same location, right? The Volta usually puts two at each location for a reason. You go to the Star Market in Belmont, or you go to the, is it Shaw's in Belmont? Shaw's in Belmont's Star Market. No, Star Market in Belmont, Shaw's in Wakefield. You'll see it. They're there. We're in Cambridge at the Gallus, Cambridge Side Mall. We're going to Somerville soon.
Wait a minute, we're gonna get something electric before Somerville?
Yes.
Oh, move approval. Jesus. No, you've addressed my concerns. As long as the crosswalk issues is addressed and this is located in close proximity to a crosswalk and stop sign, I certainly have no problem with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a crosswalk.
Just
coming-
noting it, it looks like it's right across from the two front doors of the Stop and Shop. So it's
Correct.
where
That's
the,
what race side. Yeah.
it's the race sidewalk, the fire lane, and then it's where the two things come up. So there's not a crosswalk.
I'm a
but
Wegmans
it's-
guy. I don't know.
It's a crossing area.
Yes.
I'm just like, they're like educated Medford voters at this point. Maybe we should let them out of here.
Yeah, dude.
Any further discussion from the council? I want to thank you both for bearing with us, and this is just, we talk about if we want an EV future, this is the type of infrastructure we need. Everyone's grappling with having this type of infrastructure. How do you add it? So I think this is a great opportunity. I appreciate you coming before us, and I do just see one resident has their hand up. Tony, name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Tony, Tanner Street, Medford, Mass. Not against any type of revenue for the city. Just curious, is there a time limit for these units? And what prevents people from parking there overnight? So if you live across the street, you get free charging and no one else can use the unit? Or is there any like queue for the cars that are, and where will all those cars line up? Again, I'm not against this in any way, shape, or form, but it'd be good to know answers to these questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tanks. Yes, this is private property. The hours, we will work with the city to set those hours normally at these locations.
I think the question actually is if someone comes and parks there all day and charges.
Oh, okay. I thought the first question was if there are time limits to it, right?
Maybe it's both, but
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, so I took the time limit question to be, we usually turn them on an hour before and an hour after the store closes. We do not want people staying there overnight. Most of the site partners we have don't want people there during off hours. We don't promote it, and they turn them off. So yeah, that would be addressed. With respect to the enforcement of someone overstaying their welcome, there will be card readers installed in these. They're going to be free, but we will have the ability going forward, not yet, but going forward, to terminate that charge from someone if they overstay. Say, usually we put 2-hour signs up for
What
everyone.
if someone's not charging? They just park, they don't have an electric vehicle, they just park there?
Yeah.
Who enforces that?
It's so that we call them ICE vehicles, combustible engines. It would have to be enforced by the site partner, which would be, in this case, Stop and Shop.
Thank you.
And have they expressed a willingness to do that
I don't know necessarily about this spot, but
in
yeah.
other places? I
unanimous
mean, as your
yes.
experience
Yeah.
is showing.
Yeah, it's a
Good.
benefit for them to have it available to people, so they're gonna encourage people to get out of there unless they're charging a car.
Very good questions.
I know we have you muted, but does that address your question, Tony? Just-
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Good luck.
Great, thank you. So on the motion of Councilor Scarpelli, as seconded by Vice President Bears, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Council Carabello is absent. Council Collins.
Yes.
Council Knight.
Yes.
Council Scarpelli. Yes. Council Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes, 6 in the affirmative, 1 absent, 0 in the negative. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your
Thanks, Steve.
service. Yes.
22-416 was tabled. 22-417 offered by Vice President Bears. Be it so resolved by the Medford City Council that the city of Medford increase the property tax exemption for qualified seniors over 65 to the maximum 20% of the average assessed valuation of the residential property in the city of Medford allowed by Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 41C and a half. Be it further resolved that the city of Medford increase the income limit for property tax exemption for qualified seniors over 65 to the maximum income limit for the circuit breaker state income tax credit allowed by Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 41C and a half. Be it further resolved that the city solicitor and interim chief assessor review the proposed language above and submit any suggestions for changes to the council by July 14th. Vice President Barris.
Thank you, Madam President. Len's still here.
Len is still here. Mr. Passagetti is still here.
Too. Sorry, Andrew.
He almost get kicked out, but he's still here.
Madam President, I would like to amend the paper to strike out the last paragraph as this was submitted in June, so that's why that last paragraph was there. So amended to strike the last paragraph and then a motion to refer to the August committee of the whole meeting with the assessor.
Any further discussion? On the motion of Vice President Barris as amended by Vice President Barris, seconded by Councilor Knight. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Barris.
Yes.
Council Carabello is absent. Council Collins. Council Knight.
Yes.
Council Scarpelli. Council Sang.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes. 6 in the affirmative, 1 absent, 0 in the negative. The motion passes. Vice President Barris, take over for a second.
Dangerous. Put me up here. 22-418 offered by Councilor Sang. Be it so resolved that the Medford City Council asks relevant state agencies to fix the broken signage and remove signage debris in Wellington Circle. Councilor Sang.
Thank you, Vice President Barris. This is pretty self-explanatory. We talk about curb appeal, we talk about beautification. This is, this is something that we can do to make Medford look better, but also to make Medford safer especially for drivers and pedestrians who use Wellington Circle. There are streetlights that are knocked down, signs that have been knocked down and not replaced. And I'd like us to do our best to contact our state agencies because that's who owns that land, to make sure that they are fixing those signs and making sure that Wellington Circle not only looks good, but is safe for everyone.
Thank you, Councilor Sang. Any further discussion on the motion? On the motion of Councilor Sang to approve, seconded by Councilor Scarpelli. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Carabello is absent. Council Collins. Council Knight is absent from the chamber. Council Scarpelli. Yes. Councilor Sang.
Yes.
President Morrell is absent from the chamber. Vice President Barris.
Yes, 4 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Motion passes. 22-419 offered by Councilor Sang. Be it so resolved that the Medford City Council asks the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority to remove debris from the Wellington Station grounds. Councilor Sang.
Thank you, Vice President Barris. Councilor Knight was so kind as to let me know about some updates about the situation at Wellington Station, and in particular about people who who have no place to stay, who stay there overnight. And he wanted us, Councilor Knight wanted us to be careful with how we worded this resolution. So I'm proposing a slight amendment. I'll email this to the clerk right after I speak, but I'll just read it out right now so you have it. Be it so, I'd like to amend it to be it so resolved that the Medford City Council asked the MBTA to remove signage debris and replace signage from Wellington Station grounds. Be it further resolved that the Medford City Council asked the city administration to provide social service help to those in need living at the Wellington Station grounds. Be it further resolved that the Medford City Council asked the MBTA to find local artists to beautify the Wellington Station grounds. Again, this is a resolution that's similar to the last one. We just want to make sure that we improve our curb appeal, improve beautification, make Medford look better, but also make sure that we have the right signage for all of our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sang. On the motion of Councilor Sang as amended by Councilor Sang, seconded by Councilor Scarpelli. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Carabello is absent. Council Collins.
Yes.
Council Knight. Counselor Scarpelli. Counselor Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell is absent. Vice President Bears.
Yes, 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative, the motion passes. 22-420, offered by Counselor Singh. Be it resolved that the city administration inform local restaurants and food trucks about the Massachusetts SNAP Restaurant Meals Program and encourage them to apply to this program. This program allows older adults, homeless individuals, and people with disabilities to buy food at authorized restaurants and food trucks using their SNAP EBT card. Restaurants and food trucks can apply to the pilot program through August 31st, 2022. Counselor Singh.
The resolution basically describes what this program is. This is something that our state government has put into place that I think could benefit the groups that are mentioned in this resolution. We talk about food security, we talk about food access. This is one of the things that could help increase access to healthy food in our community.
Thank you, Counselor Singh. On the motion of Counselor Singh, seconded by Counselor Scarpelli. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Carabello is absent. Counselor Collins.
Oh, yes.
Counselor Knight. Yes. Counselor Scarpelli. Yes. Counselor Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell. President Morrell is absent. Vice President Bears.
Yes, 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. Motion passes. 22-438, offered by Counselor Collins. Be it so resolved that the Medford City Council requests an update from the Department of Public Works on the measures, standards, or contracts in place for cleaning and waste pickup in the public area along the river between the Craddock Bridge and the pedestrian bridge. Counselor Collins.
Thank you. I've been hearing from constituents complaining about the uncleanliness of the area around the pedestrian bridge and Craddock Bridge by the Mystic River. I also ride my bike along that path to get to every city council meeting, so I'm particularly attuned to the broken glass that's frequently on the path there. Bit of a safety risk. Would love to hear an update from the administration about whose jurisdiction this public space is under and how we can support it being maintained for everybody's safe enjoyment.
Thank you, Counselor Collins. On the motion of Counselor Collins, seconded by Counselor Scarpelli. Any further discussion? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Carabello is absent. Counselor Collins.
Yes.
Counselor Knight. Counselor Scarpelli. Counselor Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell is absent.
I'm here.
Nope,
Yes.
he's there.
I apologize.
Yes.
Vice President Bears.
Yes, 6 in the affirmative, none in the negative, motion passes. 22-440, offered by Counselor Collins. Be it resolved that the Medford City Council expresses support for House Bill H 4795, an act to expand access to high-quality, affordable early education and care, which would support investments in childcare and early education, increase affordability and availability for families, and support wage raises for early educators and childcare providers. Be it further resolved that the city clerk forward a copy of this resolution to the Medford Legislative Delegation, as well as chairs and vice chairs of the House Ways and Means Committee, Michaelowitz and Ferranti. Counselor Collins.
Thank you. I'll skip over the part where we recount the funding issues we've been talking about tonight and for the past 6 weeks. Given that our short-term municipal revenue growth is uncertain and we have so many needs already going unmet, and that the lack of accessible, affordable childcare is something that we've been hearing about from constituents all term long. I felt that the least I could do as a counselor is to try and urge our state leaders to help the communities out with providing for this critical resource. The point I try to make every time I put a state bill on the agenda is that state issues are local issues. I wish that we could fund all of these services in-house with municipal revenue, but until we can, I will continue to advocate for state resources to leave Medford families less in the lurch. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Collins. Any further discussion? On the motion of Counselor Collins, seconded by
Second.
President Morrell. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Carabello is absent. Counselor Collins.
Yes.
Counselor Knight. Counselor Scarpelli.
Yes.
Counselor Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes.
Vice President Bears.
Yes, 5 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, 1 absent. The motion passes. Nothing further on the agenda, but we do have public participation. We do have someone in line. So I will recognize you, Mr. Castanetti. Name and address for the record, please.
I think you already said it. I just want to hang around to the end
because it's late, it's 11:15, but probably not as late as the last meeting was probably what, 1:45 a.m. Is that the last meeting? Oh, I'm not gonna get you there. I cut to the chase. I just wanted to say, I get passionate at times because I guess I still care about this city, you know, for better or for worse, and trying to make betterments. And I know you people must be in the same shoe or mentality. So if I must excuse myself at times, I do. I hope you do. Excuse me. But I wanted to say one thing, because Mr. Gav came up in conversation this evening, and how can I say, for lack of the proper word, not enough rules, tax going to the city of Medford, it seems. So I used to live on Route 38, which is Mr. Ave, your highway to Boston, when I was 5 years old. And then 5 years later, in 1960, the old highway to Boston was not replaced, but made adjacent parallel to Interstate Route 93. 1960. But I think, no, when I was 10. Now you know the numbers.
We're trying to have fun.
Now you get the numbers. Okay, if you really want to know. So the point is this: don't you think that that's like, it's a cash cow? It's still blighted with mechanic places and this and that, and bumpy, 5 times paved over, whatever. The point is, that's the old highway to Boston, Route 38. Why not? Of course, you're thinking about it, but it's not happening. 60 years later, is it? Like the Rolling Stones, 60th anniversary tour right now? Come on, man. You should have, who am I to dictate? 5, 6, 7, 8 stories. I was going to say, I won't piss off some people and say 12 and 25, like New York City, 100. But listen, the first couple of floors should be mixed use, like Station Landing or Assembly Road. Right? Mr. Beers, you still with me? Are you with Mr. Knight? The first couple of floors should be mixed use, okay? And then above, you could have residential. You wouldn't have affordability problems. You could do it different ways. In Innsbruck, Austria, I believe, the city had land and gave it to a developer. So it's quasi-federal, Austrian federal, and private. And they have affordable housing. And it's like not the timeshare. It's like they have in New York City. It's not called condos. It's some other term.
Co-ops.
I believe it is co-op. Yeah, it is co-op in New York City. I don't think I've ever seen that here. Have you?
Well,
okay.
Mr. Castellini, if I may, just given the lateness of the hour, 2 things. One, that we passed the first comprehensive zoning recodification in the city in nearly as long as 60 years, this past March. And we are looking at, hopefully, a planned development district will come into maybe Domestic Ave, or maybe we'll look at it in our second round of zoning, the funding that we secured to finally to execute that. And I would be remiss if I didn't also say, if we're going to bring up Austria, that Vienna, Austria, many people are housed in social housing. It's incredibly high quality public housing. And the Socialist Party has not lost an election in 100 years.
I'm glad you reiterated what I was implying. God bless you. I'm glad you know that.
Thank you, Mr. Castanetti.
It's possible, you know, and we could have, coming up with an idea. I think I stole from Connecticut, Mr. Knight. Could have a 3rd tax rate. Instead of 10 for the residential, 20 for the commercial, let's go for 15. It's quasi this and that, and maybe eminent domain, if need be. You could have Davis Square on Mystic Ave all the way, put a trolley. I gotta go.
Thank you, Mr. Castanetti. Seeing no other hands for public participation, is there a motion on the floor?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, President Morrell, seconded by Councilor Collins. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Justin.
Councilor Carviallo is absent. Councilor Collins.
Yes.
Councilor Knight is absent. Councilor Scarpelli. Councilor Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes.
Vice President Bears.
Yes, 5 in the affirmative, 2 absent. The meeting is adjourned.